Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are premiering. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Will Brax, Mel B. Styles, Troy Shuka, Bose Nail, Joseph Pizarro, Samson, Maris, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, NA Literalist, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, Kirsten Smith, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I'll hand over to whoever is in Discord and G+, so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
I got a Master B for you to go to 129 mark and 135.50 mark.
Master B.
Yeah, I posted the link in the
129.
The hour minute.
Hold on. 129 is the start, yeah?
That's the start of where it started. You can go as much as you want there, but you don't need to go too much. And then the 135.50 mark.
So it's two clips.
Yeah, same show.
Okay. Let's get to the first one then. 135.
No, 129.
Oh, sorry, 129. Okay, let's have a listen.
Well, it's our senses can't detect the 4D world. We can't move around.
How do we detect the world that we don't live in?
Sorry, our senses don't detect it. So it's non-physical. Non-physical then. Non-physical. He's scared of me pointing out that if we can't detect it with our senses, then it's not in existence, it's not real, because it's a reified mathematical construct.
It exists, and we can test it with
So
experiments.
it doesn't exist. We've already established we don't live in a 4D world. We're not proving gravity either, because that's not a force.
But we move around in 3D.
It's not proving gravity. This 4D world that don't exist. That's not a force either.
Projection of the 4D world.
No, it's not a projection of a force either. Quote, George Musa. Literally, it's not a force. End quote, George Musa.
I appreciate you don't have the intellect to understand that.
Oh, I don't intellectually understand a quote from George Musa. Quote, gravity is not a force, end quote. Then he was challenged by Craig, the dumb shit that thinks it is. And he said, no, literally, it's not a force.
In the 4D world, yeah.
Yeah, and we don't live in a 4D world, so who gives a shit?
Because there are some aspects of the 4D world that do affect our 3D world.
Sorry, a world that doesn't exist isn't going to affect the world that does. Narnia doesn't affect the real world, you complete clown.
Do you have a world detecting meter? Or so? How do you detect the fucking 4D world, Rumpus? Where is that? How do we get there? How do we detect it?
Okay, I'm about to tell you. Right, so for a start, if we use just the Newtonian methods of determining the orbit of Mercury...
That's 3D world. You're asking you about Newtonian, you stupid idiot. We're asking... Is that what you wanted? Or did you want any more of that particular section? Or should we go into the other one from 135.50?
Yeah, you can go 135.50. I mean, the whole thing is good, but you can jump ahead now.
Okay.
This is a debate channel, yet actually there's no debating on. It's just him ranting and raving at people with his exposing his idiocy. I think we're
You're the fool, Rumpus. You're the fool. You said it's undetectable, but somehow you're telling us you detected it.
Where did I say that, you utter moron? I said it is detectable.
Yeah, at the beginning you said
okay, fine. So you can't move around in it. So you can't.
It is detectable, you twat. It is detectable, you twat.
So you can't move around in it.
You can move in the spatial part of the
describing the movement. Is he describing the movement of something in a world where you can't see the movement of something?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you can do it with magic.
That's pathetic.
You can see the movement, and it is detectable.
Ed, do you know about this 4D world that Rumpus is talking about?
You came up with thing. Oh, it's undetectable. I said it was detectable. I said it was detectable.
How do we detect it? Do you have like a meter on you that detects 4D worlds?
And I've been trying to
How do you
answer
do
that
that?
very question, but Nathan keeps interrupting me. So we
He wears a
know
watch.
that this. So let's
Bingo,
try listening.
129. Play
So there are
129
several
again, Nathan.
elements of
Hold on.
4D space.
Say again, sorry.
Just go back to 129 for about 10 seconds only.
That is straight up fairy tale land.
Well, it's our senses can't detect the 4D world. We can't move
Rumpus,
around
how
in
do we
time.
detect the world that we don't live in?
Sorry.
Is that what you wanted?
Yeah, well, you know, when I first heard him say it, he says our senses can't detect the 4D world. So I remembered that, and then that's when I came in at the 135 mark, 50 mark, and said, "Hey, you said it was undetectable," and he says, "You twat, you utter." It's like, wait a minute. The only way you're detecting it is on a piece of paper with a calculation, not through your empirical method, through your senses. My goodness.
Nothing to detect.
I know, but he thinks he didn't say it. Excuse me. He thinks he didn't say it.
Yeah, double
It's
speak.
classic.
I'll tell you what I can't detect.
What's that?
Can't detect why my car is not passing inspection again.
Here we go again. The endless.
Yeah, I just freaking another $328 for an oxygen sensor. I get all the way home 100 miles, the light don't go on. On my way in this morning, bing, the light goes on. So now I can't get it inspected again until I get whatever needs to be done. I feel like driving my car right through this guy's house and giving him back the keys.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, they have that here in California with the smog check and all that. You go in and it doesn't. They say, "Oh, you got to go do this, do that, and come back," and then you keep failing. And next thing you know, you pass for some reason after you pay a lot of money.
Yeah, but the light keeps going on. It's not that they're making, unless they're making it fail. I don't know.
The whole thing is a gimmick to make money. I mean, the whole it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and then I find out from this other guy that Midas, they work on commission, so they're going to push the biggest job. Anyway, so that was classic with Rumpus yesterday.
Yeah, I
Classic,
mean,
classic.
these people live in the world of calculations on a piece of paper with a pencil. It's all calculations.
Yeah, but I must say I was on Brandon's last night, and I think I don't know, I don't want to say it, but I think I'm starting to sway back towards the globe. They had some really good points. No, I'm serious with the weight and stuff like that. And
Yeah. What weight?
there's just too many things. I forgot what they were saying, but then my son was explaining something to me. And then there was this
What weight?
military guy that came out and was like, has no reason to lie. And
No reason to lie.
Hold
We're
on,
born
let me
liars.
hold on.
well, he's a Christian guy.
Ken,
He's a Christian guy. And
Yeah.
that whole space thing.
Yeah,
like-
I know. Hey, so what about the R? How come the R can't be
hold on.
detected?
Hold on.
Well,
Ken.
that's just one picture, though. You know, I don't know. I'm confused.
That's the main picture. Nice one, though. I like the way you're setting it up.
What am I setting up?
Well,
April Fools. Good one.
Can't get over on Pet Man. You just can't get over on Pet Man. Or I can't be a baller. That's what it is. I had this whole thing planned out. I was saying I'm going to milk them all the way till halfway through the show. I should have known better.
Not shy, though.
It's a bit of an insult to Brandon's, saying you went there as a flat earther, and by the time you left, you felt like moving back over to the globe. That's a bit of an insult.
Yeah.
Yeah, be ready for April Fool's stuff today, Nathan.
You think I care if I insult them after what they said about us? I don't care.
Who said about us? Brandon.
Well, not him specifically, but people on the channel.
That's not Brandon. It's Brandon's show, right?
Well, straighten them out. Don't let them go ramble on. Maybe they did. I don't even know who Brandon is. He could have been saying something I would have never known.
Hey, Adam.
Afternoon, guys.
Good morning, Adam.
Good news, Nathan. Although I am laughing at you.
Shut up.
So anyway, back to the Globers. They actually live in a calculation world. Chalkboard equations. When it comes to reality, they're lost. Their whole model falls apart when it comes to reality.
What are you talking about? We live in a projection. We're in a 3D projection.
Yeah, he said that yesterday.
Yeah, reality has a knack of that, doesn't it, in the ball world of ruining a good model.
Yep, well put. And then Virus comes on. I can't think it could top Rumpus, but Virus. That was classic with Virus.
You know, I just wanted to say something about Virus. Is he dumb? I was listening to the after show, and he was not under. First of all, he's another Gem Panda. He says, "I didn't even ask the question. How can I be begging a question, moron? You're begging a question because you believe in a globe. That's number one." He wasn't understanding how he was saying that atmosphere. You're saying that gas is a sphere. Yeah, wraps around into a sphere. It was driving me crazy. I'm like, how can somebody be that dumb? Well, they're just trolling.
I'll tell you, because he's figured out that it's easier to argue about the minor pedantic point of his definition of the word than the implications of atmosphere, because that's where you debunk space. Now, if you get into the semantics of the word itself and what he's claiming with the word, then you're arguing about that rather than debunking space. Now, that would be if I implied...
Oh, I see.
Well, that would be if I veered on the side of intelligence, i.e. intentionally doing it so that he doesn't have to get to the awkward bit of the space being debunked by sphere-shaped air. So that would be if he was intelligent. If he's thick, it's just cognitive dissonance. You know, we're explaining the conclusion, i.e. if it's a sphere in a vacuum, it's just going to disperse. It doesn't take the shape of a sphere. It would disperse. Those are the main points that we're making, but he... presumably in cognitive dissonance just wants to get away from that, so therefore says, well, I'm not claiming it's a sphere-shaped air, because that's an easier denial to have to fight for. So it could, you know, I've given both if he's thick or if he's smart. Either way, they've got to get away from the fact that their sphere-shaped air law doesn't help them when it stands in violation of the second law of thermodynamics.
Well, at one point he said, when you said atmosphere, atmo means air, sphere means sphere. We know what the definition of sphere is. And he says, atmosphere has nothing to do with sphere. It's like, well, why is it in the word then?
And he called Nathan a liar.
No, it's just the cognitive dissonance. I mean, this could be a case study in like some university if you study these ballers.
Well, to me, they're happy now because if all they're arguing about and all the audience is listening to is them not understanding or being able to describe the word sphere in relation, and making themselves look like that, daft like that, then what they're not doing is making the ball look daft because they're not discussing the ball. They're avoiding it at all costs, even at the cost of their own intellectual reputation, to the point that they'd appear as retarded as to not understand atmosphere and it's the breakup of the words in the derivation and their meaning. So that's where they're at for me. They're prepared to sacrifice themselves. It's a bit like when they white knight, but now to the point that they're coming in themselves and the first thing they'll grab onto is these little things so that they don't have to discuss the ball.
You know, that's one way to look at it, and I'm not against it. But at the same time, when I'm on the show 5 days a week and I know who these characters are, I can't separate the two. So when they look daft, the ball looks daft. When they look stupid, the whole globe model looks stupid. So I don't have that separation. I don't get lost in their daftness and forget about their lie about the ball. For some reason, it's one and the same to me.
I think that's a good point by Adam, but I don't think they're smart enough to do that. They're too stupid to do that.
Yeah, it's more likely just a byproduct of cognitive dissonance, and if you overanalyze it, it seems like it's a really intelligent move to doublespeak. But it's like, no, they're doublespeaking because they're holding both positions simultaneously, and they can't reconcile that in their own mind, so they do actually just contradict themselves. Now, for us on the receiving end of it, it's like, well, that must be intentional because it's very distracting and very effective. It's like, no, what you're hearing is the thralls of cognitive dissonance coming out verbally.
But I think Adam's got a point, actually. I just can't separate it, though. I mean, I could see someone lying for the sake of the glow. But if we're here on the show and you're a panel member, I'm speaking for me, I can't separate the two. So I don't say he's doing it on purpose, or I say, look how stupid that statement is. Even Chocolate said to Virus, what did he say? He said something like, bro, you let me down.
Yeah, you let me down, bro. Yeah, but you know what? I think it always comes back to pride. It's gotta be pride. They're too prideful to accept that it can't be what, that they were tricked or duped or whatever, or fooled.
Well, it started with him saying he had common sense. And that's what I picked up on. I said, well, if you have common sense, then let's talk about Earth-based Coriolis. The rotation of the Earth and all that. So it started there, I believe. So when you check out their common sense, I mean, they like to say they got common sense, but then if by the end of that segment, you realize you didn't have any common sense. You didn't know what sphere and atmos together meant, or pretended. Either way. And then he said, weight. Atmosphere is made of weight. And then later he said he didn't say it. So this whole gas go down boom boom is a bigger, has more tentacles. It's spreading around in different ways.
Yeah, they'll often start making their argument, not realizing that they're actually claiming gas goes down in their argument until it's pointed out to them.
Right. And then you say, well, how do you weigh gas? And it's over the minute you ask that question. Because you got to contain it to weigh it.
Interesting to get a concession out of that guy, though, eh, Adam? He later recanted in the comments.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was noteworthy enough. That's why I said it on the show. I was actually, I didn't know whether you were just like railroaded him into it, or genuinely he was at the point where, yeah, he was conceding the point, but the apology was there. Yeah, the funniest thing.
I think he did railroad into him, and the guy wanted to move on, so he played the part, because later on he came back and he admitted that he only did that just to move on.
Yeah, it's shocking what they bring, though, isn't it? It's just shocking, because that thing, it shows the level of research they do. It takes us 5 minutes to read the paper they present. And in yesterday's case, it was a rehash of Cavendish, and it's just, I don't know. If I'm going to stick my neck out there, I'd do a bit more than less than the reading I did on the show. Do you know what I mean? Before I went and presented it on Earth Debate.
Right, it's forgivable to do on-the-fly research like you did and pull it apart for what it is, because in that instance, you've recognised what it is, and then you know the argument that's attached. Now, that isn't always the case, but it's forgivable for the person who's on the receiving end of it that gets a brand new piece of information, has to study it on the fly, and then come up with a rebuttal on the fly. If you get it wrong, yeah, obviously you're still going to get held to task, but that's more forgivable than someone comes and says, this is my argument. Here is my documentation and citations. And you go, well, that's got a problem off the, straight off the bat. Not straight off the bat, after a little bit of research. And you just think, yeah, you should have really got this down, pegged. And if you saw any flaws, at least have your workarounds figured out. In other words, know what you might come up against. I mean, that's where we all do well. We all know their arguments like the back of our hands, so it's fairly easy to get a new piece of information, what seems like a new piece of information, and pull it apart, or even do it on the fly without necessarily looking at it in any depth. Just get their explanation for it and then pull that apart. But that's because we know their arguments and our own. They don't. They don't know our arguments, and they don't know our rebuttals to their arguments, otherwise they wouldn't present them. And in many cases they don't. That's why it's so quiet around here a lot of the time. Because they know we know the rebuttal to their argument and how it makes them look silly if they come and present it. They've all heard it. They've all heard someone else have that particular argument pulled apart on a different day, and they go, I'm not going to go in with that. But there's going to be that exception like that guy who's like, I've been wanting to go in and tell Nathan what's what for a while. I won't go back. That was his comment. And I was being ironic when I just agreed and basically gave you an exact rendition of the argument that refuted my argument back to you. That was just done in irony. That was his claim. You're like, yeah, whatever. Share your pain.
Yeah. I don't know if that's the correct definition of irony, is it?
No, that's
making
a language thing. I
yourself
knew what
look
he
a
meant.
complete retard, then actually correcting and apologising the level of retardedness you demonstrated with your comprehension, and then afterwards say, "Oh, it's being ironic." What, ironically thick?
I don't think he means. I think he means sarcastic. But I knew the tone of what he's saying is. I didn't really mean what I said. That's what he's saying in the comments. And you're like, okay, well, you can either take that one of two ways. Number one, you're a liar. We can't believe a word you say, because what you say will be later recanted and suggested that you didn't mean what you said, making you a liar. You can't trust what you say. The words you use aren't the words you mean. Well, then we don't want to hear the words you say because you're a liar. Or you were, capable of giving back the argument, but are now simply saying to save face that you were being ironic about it. Well, there was no irony in your rendition of your argument after you'd said etc, and tried everything possible to get away from not repeating it. But he made it also clear what his purpose was. He really wanted to tell me what's what. And you can detect it in all of them. They fucking hate me. And they want to tell me what's what. Like that guy. Yeah, even when he was proven wrong, he still felt in some way that he's in the high ground position to talk down to me and say, yeah, okay, get on with it. Like they all do. Okay, yeah, whatever, when they've repeated back the argument they've lost. Yeah, let's move on, whenever they're proven wrong. Because they still want to somehow feel like they're in the high ground, righteous position and look down their nose at us, even when wrong. And you're like, no, when that happens, I know you're saying it's too far to demand an apology. At that moment on a live show, he represents every single baller that's like that feel they can look down their noses at us and tell us what's what and educate us with a very limited understanding of the argument that they've come forth with. Us, on the other hand, by contrast, know exactly what argument he's presenting, even with vague snippets of what his argument actually is given from him, with his limited understanding. We can fill in the blanks. We know the argument that well. But he still thinks he's in a position to talk down to us, ridicule us, belittle us, and tell us how it works. Now, it's a shock when they come here because they think, well, I know this argument. They've not watched 1,000 shows and heard it 2 or 3 times pulled apart. They've just heard the most recent shows. It's been on, let's say it's been on Coriolis effect, and they've got an argument for distance to the sun in that case. Well, they're going to think, well, I haven't heard anybody rip that apart. I'll just explain it to them and I'll win and I'll tell them what's what and I'll walk away victorious in front of an audience. And instead, they come away going, no, my concession that I lost and repeated back verbatim how I'd lost, concisely, and made as much logical sense when I repeated it as when you stated it, taking apart my argument. That wasn't really what I meant. You're like, yeah, you are a prick. And your attitude demonstrates it to anybody who's watching this, regardless of which side they're on. Even if you're a globehead, you can hear what he's saying. He's repeating the argument back as per the argument put to him. So, yeah, it's clear what's happening, but they still think they've got the high ground. Anyway,
that's the point, Nathan. That last bit you ended with there. Oh, bloody phone. Let me stand to that. 2 seconds, Mary. That last point there, in terms of him trying to say it's sarcastic, it's still apparent to ballers or newbies looking at that. That's the thing. There's no There's no credit in that presentation style. And if he's claiming that's what they intended to do, that concession, as much as he wants to call it ironic, sarcastic, to any, we understand it, but to any newbie listening to that, you surely can't be thinking, oh, that's it. Yeah, these flat earthers definitely don't know what they're on about, because look at the way the globe exponent has not been able to present any knowledge of whatever he's talking about. It still seems fundamentally wrong that it's a bit like losing a boxing match, isn't it? And saying, yeah, a bit Dillian White. Yeah, I was much better, but I got knocked out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's pathetic is what it is, Adam. It's pathetic. It's sore losers going, no, I didn't really concede my argument and repeat back the rebuttal. Yeah, you did. That's exactly what you did.
I think the example that undresses them for who they really are is when I heard, why can't you see Canada from England? It's like, it's so laughable. No one hearing that for the first time would ever answer the way these ballers answer when they come on the show. And then Nathan talked about, well, if I have a single human hair a mile out, you're going to see that? I mean, it's like comical. It's like any kid would say, well, the reason I can't see Canada from England is because it's too far away. No one's going to say straight as bent.
Right. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by the Adam Meakin, Neil, 10th Man, Father of a Stolen Child, Arwin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good morning.
Yo.
Hello, and Sleeping Warrior.
Yay.
Good to have you.
Last but by no means least.
Of course. You have a hello from anyone in Discord, just to make sure it's all working?
Tumbleweeds.
Hello.
Hello, Stegoli.
What's up, Nathan?
Excellent. Everything functioning as normal. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curvature?
No.
Discord? Anybody been claiming
Come on,
tangent
Discord.
points like they did yesterday?
Come on, Discord.
Dip angles to give you R values? Anybody at all? Don't be shy.
Nope.
Nobody claims the horizon's Earth curve, Nathan.
The guy yesterday claimed the horizon was Earth curve and tried to take a dip angle measurement from that tangent point, only to then later claim it was projected into a different position that was non-geometric. Amazing how cognitive dissonance works. Any evidence of the R value the guy was trying to get from the physical horizon we've debunked with the black swan? R value, Earth radius.
Only on a piece of paper through a calculation.
Yeah, calculate it into existence. No, there is no evidence of the R value.
Any newcomers in Discord? Feel free.
If there was, at 1.22 miles at a 1 foot observer height, that would be a physical obstruction all the time.
Yes, that's right. At 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, there'd be a geometric limitation by way of the physical obstruction they call Earth curve. It's in their mathematics and debunked by the black swan.
Right. The proof of R is in terrestrial refraction, which makes the exact specific globe Earth look perfectly like a flat plane.
Almost
That's
right.
the proof of R.
Almost correct. Not the proof of R is in terrestrial refraction, just R is in terrestrial refraction.
Yeah.
You can't use R to refract the horizon to a non-geometric, non-tangent point if you can't get R from the horizon. It's the Arwinian paradox.
Right, but if you still conclude that it has to be on a sphere that you just can't really geometrically measure because it always looks like a flat plane because the horizon is not in the geometric horizon location, then isn't it just okay to presuppose R?
So what you're saying is
reality makes it so difficult for you to establish it.
Just because you can't see through the back of the wardrobe to Narnia doesn't mean we shouldn't worry about what's behind the wardrobe in Narnia, right? We can't see it, we can't experience it, but we should still worry about what's behind that wardrobe. My bad, where the geometric horizon that doesn't exist is. Sorry, I get those two confused often, Narnia and Globe Earth.
Yeah.
I think the 7/6R factor has arbitrarily been chosen, and it doesn't apply in some fixed value to the real world.
Any more on the R value or Earth curvature?
No.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No.
No.
Bob proved it.
How did Bob prove it?
No, he didn't prove that. He didn't manipulate the presumed cause to prove that it was the rotation of the Earth. He just measured something and doesn't really know what he's measuring. It did seem to be consistent with the model, but it's correlative only. So on that one, we defend Bob because he didn't actually prove anything.
But hold on, he's been peer-reviewed, and the vast majority agree that he did prove that.
Oh, well, he's proved it then.
Well, it is actually quite a useful tool. So what's useful is you can take the section from Netflix where Bob makes it explicitly clear that if he picks up a drift, it would be because Earth's turning beneath the gyroscope. The 15 degrees an hour drift they claim Earth will induce in the gyro because it's spinning fixed in one reference frame as Earth turns beneath it. Now, he's made that claim because that's the Globe Earth claim. And then Netflix have taken that and then taken his result exactly in line with that prediction. And he's gone forth, that would be Bob Nodell, to say, no, what we actually proved was the cause of it is ether rotation. So when you've got a pseudoscience experiment that doesn't prove anything, you can attribute whatever just so story you like to it. So if you're a glober, you can take the gyro and say, well, it'll drift because Earth turns beneath it. And if you're Bob, you can say, well, no, the cause is ether rotation. So in other words, none of them have established the cause after doing what they call an experiment with a gyro. Now, the thing about science is you establish the cause as something called an independent variable. So in both instances, the gyro for ether rotation and the gyro for globe turn, in both instances, you haven't got an independent variable that can be varied by you, the researcher. So you're not varying that which you assume causes the effect. You're making up a story as the cause of the effect. And what is the effect? The effect's a gyroscope, not some naturally occurring phenomena we need to worry about, like drift on an Earth that's spinning. There's no phenomena to study. There's a man-made device. That's what you've got. And the story for the cause of the anomaly in the man-made device can change at will. At one time, it can be Earth turning beneath the man-made device, and another time it can be ether rotation. Because if you haven't got a valid scientific experiment, you can make up the cause as you go along. In an actual experiment, the cause is established in the hypothesis, and you'll be varying it to see if it causes it. And the thing you're going to be causing is something that you're studying that occurred in nature, not a bloody gyroscope. But no, Bob did not prove Earth turns. He also did not prove ether rotation. He didn't have an experiment. There's nothing to see here. The phenomena are non-phenomena.
And he didn't manipulate the presumed cause to establish the cause and effect relationship. So it could be anything that he's measuring. And he is measuring something, but it's a little bit elusive, isn't it? Let's be honest. He doesn't show it. They just assume it. They demand that he proved it. The reality is he measures something, but what is it?
It's a conjured phenomenon within a man-made device, and that's the only place it seems to be detectable.
That's correct, Darwin. He's detected drift in a fibre optic or fog gyro. That's what he's detected. Okay? That's not a naturally occurring phenomena that I need to concern myself with.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
You make a couple of assumptions.
Morning, guys.
It's over there. Definitely
Morning,
over
chocolate.
there.
We can make a couple of assumptions, Nathan, and calculate it, but without those assumptions, you can't get the distance to the sun if you assume that it's physical.
Bummer. So many assertions for 93 million mile sun, based on an R value that we've covered already being assumed, and Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion being applied with a Christian Huygens assumption that Venus has the same R value. Ever wonder why they claim Venus is Earth's twin? Well, that's because somebody just assumed it was the same size as Earth with the same radius value, spherical, and in orbit. All of those assumptions were then made so they could apply the mathematics to give them scalars and distances. And that's how we get our distance to the sun. It's true because they made it up themselves.
Shout out to Jimmy.
I could say that the reason they say it's 93 million miles is because they need light to come in parallel rays. And since light doesn't come in parallel rays, obvious for any eyeball to see, it's coming in divergent, then number one, the need for it to be that far away is, you can throw that out the window because light is coming in divergent. And so it's much closer, whatever it is, in this. I know it's a light in the sky, but it's much closer to 93 million miles if the goal is to make its light come in parallel, which it doesn't.
I remember hearing Jaron talking about the Tycho Brahe, I don't know if exasperation is the right term to use for his objections raised to the lights in the sky, currently called stars, that would have to be massive based on what they claimed the distances were. Now ascribed to Tycho Brahe, absolutely ginormous stars, vastly bigger than our own sun. In other words, his objection became part of the model, which I've always found quite amusing, especially when we then go on to find out about Newtonian gravity and his objections to exactly that. And you're like, oh, right, better not object too hard or you might have your name ascribed to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they love to do that.
Can we have Meekin presented, Nathan? I want to see what he's going to talk about here.
I was going to ask about gravity. That was my segue with Newton, but ruin it completely, and we'll have to dream up a new segue into that housekeeping question. Go ahead, Adam.
It was just to follow up. I was watching Brandon's last night, and obviously I've been aware of this altitude thing with regards to the gyroscope and the differential effects. I was chatting with Mike Kavanagh at the Amsterdam convention all about it. So I've known about it for quite a while. What I found interesting yesterday was this graph that popped up. I know they took it at Pikes Peak, different altitudes, and that's where they showed a correlation. What I found concerning was this graph, that there appears to be this level of correlation between rotation rate and temperature. And these may be skewed in the fact that the temperature is just relevant to the altitude, but there does appear to be a very nice fit with this, which would imply that there's a very strong correlation between rotation rate and the temperature, just looking at this, which to me would indicate a faulty machine. Well, we can't have varying temperatures affecting rotation rate, because that would imply that logically that temperature affects rotation rate. Now, we can't have local rotation, can we?
Hang on. There's a couple of things that would directly affect this perception of temperature, because there's a couple of things that go hand in hand with temperature. Pressure would be directly correlative as well, because as you go up in elevation, the pressure drops. Humidity drops as you go up in elevation. So although this looks pretty and says temperature indicates that there's a correlation, if you were to plot it based on pressure and also on humidity as well, you'd probably get something similar, not identical, but similar, but raises the point of what are we actually measuring and can we prove it?
Yeah, my question is exactly, stop. Hello. What rotation and what temperature? Can you be a bit more specific about what we're talking about?
Exactly. No, so this is my point. I'm not talking about measuring anything. I'm saying you've got sets of results here, and they're worrying in terms of any inference you could draw from them, because you're showing a correlation here between whatever you want to infer it is, but the output of the machine, the rotation rate output statement, and temperature. That to me is considered, unless you can uncorrelate them by saying that the temperature is only an effective altitude and demonstrate that pressure doesn't affect it, then, like I said, to me here, this says the machine is too variable by temperature to give any accuracy of rotation rate.
I'm really sorry to do this to you, Adam. I know you're trying to pull it apart, but I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what the machine is. I don't know what a rotation rate is. I don't know the temperature of what. The temperature of the bathtub and the rotation rate of the water going down it. Is that what we're looking at?
No, the temperature of the environment at which the measurements were taken. And that's why I'm saying that's a concern, that really if we were going to have a correlation, we would want a straight line, them all together, so that it demonstrated that the machine isn't affected by temperature. This says to me the machine's affected by temperature. Otherwise, the only inference is you have local rotation based on your temperature. So i.e. in South America, it's 30 degrees. So the rotation rate is, the hotter it is, the slower the rotation rate.
Okay, thank you.
That's what this is saying.
I still need clarity to an audience member. Now, it's going to seem difficult because you're going to think, you know what I'm talking about. What machine? What's the machine? What's it doing? I know this isn't your claim, by the way, Adam. I'm sorry I'm putting you on the spot to
No, it's fine.
Steel man it. I can't remember what the term is, but yeah, go. If you can explain to the audience, what are you talking about?
So we're talking about the laser gyro and its output, which I think you mentioned earlier can be assumed to be Earth rotating, or in this case, it's being inferred that it's measuring ether. It's an etherometer in a sense, I suppose, is what you're claiming the machine is.
So in other words, you're reiterating my point, and I'm glad you do, because it's the main point, without causing offence to your correlation that I still am not clear on, and I will get you to clarify again, even though you've said it several times. In terms of the cause, it depends on what your religious belief is, on what you want to ascribe as the cause. One day you can say the deviations caused by ether rotation. That's your cause of this man-made gyro drifting, the fibre optic gyro, and its 15 degrees drift that's claimed. And another day, if you're a globe believer, you can say it's because Earth's turning underneath to cause this man-made fibre optic gyro to have a 15 degrees deviation. So in other words, if I'm let's just think of something completely absurd. I'm a unicorn believer, then I can say that it's the magic unicorns that are the cause of the 15 degrees an hour drift. So in other words, I can ascribe whatever cause I like.
Yeah. I think the point I'd take issue with is the word cause. This is not cause. This is inductive reasoning. This is correlation. There is no control. This is not an experiment. These are readings that are taken, and they're plotting output on the machine against various other readings that they're taken. But we've got no direct experiment. There's no cause and effect relationship being stated here. It's just something that's been noticed correlation-wise.
And the correlation is with the output of a fiber optic gyroscope. So where you would normally have a naturally occurring phenomena that you're trying to induce or cause with your presumed cause of that effect that you're studying, in this case, that line has got output of man-made device on it rather than phenomena being studied.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But my issue isn't that, but it's that this data doesn't appear to support in of itself. To me, it's disruptive to any claim. Whatever you're going to claim that rotation, that output of the machine is, to me, this suggests that the machine is heavily affected by temperature. So it's not a good graph, is the point I'm making. But yesterday it was being discussed that this was a good correlation. It was showing things. But I said, my only inference I could say from that is unless you can rule out the temperature and show that it's not the temperature, even though there's that correlation there, then you're suggesting a faulty machine, because if these machines are subject to that much deviation over what's that, 10 degrees, not virtually, then they're next to useless, aren't they, if their output is varied so much by temperature.
Okay, I just want to say this to both globe side and flat earth side that want to utilize fiber optic gyros or mechanical gyros or anything else in this regard, right? We here are interested in the physical and natural world. Now, what is being done, as far as I can ascertain, is beta testing technology. About as far removed from science as you can get. That's what's being done. This is technology. And it might be very useful technology for certain purposes. And it might be faulty. But I don't care. Because it's not proving or disproving any natural phenomena that I'm experiencing. So I don't care. And now, Adam's saying further to that, the output of the man-made device and some of the correlations between temperature in this example are being used to make further claims, presumably causal in nature, about the output of a man-made device. This is absurd.
There's a reason why, Nathan. Bob Nodell is trying to cover his tracks. And you got Don Gio, who is into this, sending a gyro up really high to check the temperature if it would make a difference. I don't understand why. It's a gyro.
Again, if it's affected by, it's affected by electromagnetic fields.
So is that what we're studying then? Electromagnetic fields?
That's what I'm looking at. Yes.
Okay. So the natural phenomena being studied is electromagnetic fields then?
Yep.
But who cares?
To what end?
Exactly.
To what end?
What? Because it's very interesting and I like to learn.
I agree. But how is it any more or less interesting than a flat earther suddenly going deep into explosions for the sake of argument? How is it any different?
No, what shocks are interesting.
I'm doing it for myself,
Am
really.
I going to bring him into the debate?
Hold on, Neil. Go ahead, Don Gio. If you're just interested, that's fine too. I'm interested too. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, it is. I'm doing it for myself, not for the sake of argument. Just going a different route. You know what I mean? I already observe it to be flat, so that argument's case closed with that. But I'm on to something else now.
I agree. There's so much more open possibilities in the sky. It's the thing I know the least about, and I can totally understand why people would want to investigate it. The only problem or issue that we're trying to highlight here, Don, is that there's a lot of assumptions that are made that are very, very similar to the types of assumptions that leave us on a spinning ball flying through a sky vacuum in this pursuit that our own side are taking currently with these mechanical gyros and fiber optic gyros, ring laser gyros, deviations, and then claim causes that are being ascribed, correlations in terms of the deviation of the output of a man-made device, then being ascribed to other causal relationships. This is a road that I don't like, and I know why my fellow panel members also don't like it. That's why it's being discussed. I don't know if you appreciate that. I know you're just interested, as am I. I just don't want you to think I'm having a jab at you for that. I'm not. Go ahead, Don.
No, it's all right, Nathan. It's fine. It's all fine. I'm doing it to learn. Maybe I could discover something that we didn't look at, and I can bring it to the community. Yeah,
Don,
pretty much is what I'm
I'm
doing.
the same.
If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You know, if I'm right, then I find something right and I share it.
I don't know if I'm right or wrong. I've been interested in this for a long time. The effect and this affecting a machine, it's interesting, and it's worth more look. I just think sometimes you're already heading down. You've already decided what it is, and we this isn't an etherometer. Yet we've decided that's what it is, and that's the bit that I think is you're already heading down the wrong path. There's nothing wrong with this investigation, but we're already have assigned a cause to it. So we're not investigating. We're just, what are we doing? We're
Seeking confirmation.
Belief, aren't we?
I'll tell you what's being done. Confirmation bias is the term. So you've got an idea of what's occurring, and then you're seeking out confirmation for it. Now, when it doesn't sit in line with whatever you're trying to confirm, you'll rejig the cause in this instance from it'll disprove Earth's turning beneath because it won't drift at 15 degrees an hour to it is drifting at 15 degrees an hour. That's caused by ether rotation. You know, that kind of ascribing of cause is done through confirmation bias.
That's why I asked Bob, did he know anything about a F71 Tesla meter, and if he could use one of those, if he does it again, he could test the electromagnetic fields and just see if there's any forces acting upon it with that.
Listen, it's not science, but the value in analyzing this data is taking what they consider a proof for their globe Earth and axial rotation and absolutely debunking it, falsifying it. Strengthening the flat Earth argument by falsifying one of their what they consider proof.
Okay. But their claim proof in this regard is Coriolis deviation, observable from the ground as things drift as you watch them. Well, that effect is an effect induced by the gyro and claimed by globe Earth. So the drift at 15 degrees is Coriolis deviation in the gyro. Well, if the gyro drifts, I have spun this to my advantage because you can now nail down a glober on what they actually claim. And when it comes to Coriolis effect, they want to demand that we accept that that's not actually their claim when it's disproven. Now, their claim is Coriolis effect. That is things drifting as you turn beneath them, as claimed by the gyro. So once you've got it firmly established that that is what they are claiming, Earth turning beneath the gyro, and that Coriolis is you observing it as you turn beneath, then you can tie them to things that don't drift as we're claimed to turn beneath them. And they can't move away from their actual claim because they're locked into it by the gyroscope. So, Mr. Globe Believing Fundy, you believe the gyro, which is spinning and not moving, it's only apparent deflection. Gyros don't drift. They just spin. And it seems to drift. It moves in its cage, if you will, because it's claimed Earth's turning beneath it. That's what the cage is attached to. But the gyro itself demonstrates this apparent deflection because it's claimed Earth turned beneath it. So you've got it established, and then you can say that would shorten flight times. Your need for Coriolis effect, which is only for them observable from the ground as you turn beneath stuff, would induce the effect that would shorten flight times. So you've got to have something like the pendulum or the gyro to tie them to their claim in this instance, because with Coriolis they want to slip away from their claim that things should drift from the ground as we turn beneath them, which is what Coriolis is, because it doesn't happen. So you need some anchor to tie the globe believer to their actual claim, and their actual claim is Coriolis. Coriolis is observable from a roundabout, like it would be observable from a spinning Earth if it was spinning. And from a roundabout, you can turn 180 degrees on the roundabout and see the plane seem to turn 180 degrees above you on a roundabout. Now, the plane doesn't have to account for that, doesn't have to worry about it. It's not actually happening. It's just you turning beneath it on a roundabout. And likewise, you'd be turning beneath stuff on a turning Earth. But it doesn't happen. So like I say, the gyro's useful. Tie the glober to their claim that Earth turns beneath stuff. And then point out how it doesn't happen. And when they say no, the plane can account for that. And you're like, no. Me looking at an aeroplane from a roundabout, the pilot doesn't get a radio command that I'm watching him from a roundabout. And likewise, if the ground beneath him is turning, he doesn't have to concern himself for it other than the fact that it would shorten his bloody flight time if we're seeing him seem to curve as we turn beneath him to give us Coriolis. So I need that gyro. I need them to actually make their claim with it rather than tell us that, no, the gyro moves in a figure of 8 or some complete horseshit to get away from their actual claim when we disprove it. But there we go. That's my take on the gyro. I'd rather tie them to what they actually claim. As soon as what they actually claim was established by Netflix, Bob just changed the claim. Well, no, the cause isn't Earth turning beneath the gyro to prove 15 degrees an hour deviation caused by Earth turning beneath it. It's actually the ether causing the drift. It's like, oh, way to change the presumed cause of the effect on the fly. Well, that's because they haven't got a naturally occurring effect. That's not a naturally occurring phenomena. It's got an ascribed cause of Earth turn that seems to be easy to change whenever you like, to whatever you like. I've turned it into unicorns that cause that drift. I don't need to verify them. I can just claim them. Oh, what's that globe believer? You say it's Earth turning beneath it until I point out that shortens flight times. Then suddenly it's a bit awkward to have it as Earth turning beneath the gyro. You know what I mean? But that's not science. It's not been established. The cause of the effect hasn't been established in a hypothesis. The effect doesn't exist in the first instance. It's a complete sham. And because it's a complete sham, you can change it and mould it to whatever you like. Ether rotation instead of Earth turn? No problem! I just changed the wording of this sentence, and now my cause is ether rotation. Oh, what a bloody sham. If you can't recognise that, then more fool you.
Well said, honestly. There's no question that like the true non sequitur is the fact that they're claiming these gyroscopes pick up this rotation, and then on the other hand, they'll say that like when you're in a hot air balloon or whatever, that the Earth isn't turning under you. Like you can only they're trying to have their cake and eat it too, and it's good to use the gyroscope thing to call them out on that non sequitur.
Exactly. Or the pendulum. They say the pendulum's drifting. Pendulums don't drift. It's an apparent drift because it's claimed the Earth turns beneath the swinging pendulum to make it seem to drift because Earth's turning beneath it. Well, that seeming to drift is the same as the plane in the air on a roundabout seeming to turn around because you're watching it while you're spinning on a roundabout. That's Coriolis effect. Well, that effect has a very real implication if it actually occurred. So that's why they deny it. No, Earth and atmosphere spin together. That's like me saying, as I look at the plane from a roundabout, it doesn't turn around as I turn beneath it, because there's a giant whirlwind from me all the way up to the aeroplane that manages to turn it 180 degrees in the air as I watch it. It's absolutely preposterous. But if you don't know what Coriolis is, you don't realise it's the plane turning around on a roundabout because you're turning underneath it. It's not actually turning around, but it looks like it is. That's what they claim happens on Earth. Not actual deflection as you watch things not attached to a spinning Earth, like footballs or snipers' bullets, as they're quite happy to claim, until you say, well, that would shorten flight times. And then they start detailing the projectile. Well, the projectile's got engines. It's like, okay, it's back to my roundabout example. So because I look at a plane seeming to turn around, it's now not going to turn around as I watch it from a roundabout because it's got engines. What joke! But that's what you have told to you if you don't understand the argument. Or, more likely, you haven't tied them to their claim. They claim Earth turns beneath stuff like I can turn beneath an aeroplane on a roundabout. Well, if Earth's turning beneath stuff, flights from, say, Charlotte, North Carolina to LA would only take about an hour and a half. Because from the ground, you're looking up at that plane and going, oh, look at that. Looks like it's curving. And the guy next to you says, yeah, that's just us turning beneath it. It's not really curving. He knows where he's going. He's going in a straight line. It just looks that way from our point of view because we're turning beneath it. But then, of course, because you're seeing that effect, that's Coriolis, your flight time is then only an hour and a half in that direction. Travelling west would be massively shortened. Now, as soon as you say that, oh, well, it's got engines. It's accounting for it. The Earth and the air move together. The roundabout and the plane move together. That's not Coriolis. That makes no sense. But that'll be the defense if you don't tie them to what they actually claim, Earth turning beneath at 15 degrees an hour, or you don't understand the argument at all and don't understand what Coriolis is. You observing drift because you're turning beneath things. You observing a plane in the air turn around 180 degrees because you're on a kid's playground roundabout. It's not actually turning around, but it looks like it.
What a headache now.
You hate Coriolis, don't you?
Yeah.
So did I.
I'm glad Nathan deals with it.
I'd shout out my video. I did a video that shouted out Carl Jobst. Excellent speedrunning videos. I love them. Hopefully he'll be the first YouTuber to get to 1 billion subscribers. I wish him every luck. He's on that road. Anyway, he's made videos about this guy called Looper who hated the tightrope style walls in Doom 2. And in speedruns, they're a nightmare because they're a couple of pixels wide. You're trying to do them as fast as possible, and it's a tightrope. Obviously, you've got to go slow. So you've got to go slow to go fast. That's frustrating for a speedrunner. And this particular speedrunner, Looper, would describe his frustrations with them and how he hated them. Same applies with Coriolis. It's a tightrope. It's very easy to fall off into the weeds of describing how reference frames work. And you end up getting blue in the face declaring that you're Miley effing Cyrus because you're so frustrated with the tightrope that you've just fallen off and you're into the weeds of arguing about something that isn't not actual deflection as you turn beneath things. But when you get good at it, suddenly it's a breeze. You can immediately recognise when someone doesn't understand Coriolis, is now going against their own claim. Earth and atmosphere travelling together, well then no drift, no Coriolis effect. Claim debunked, but that takes lots and lots and lots of practice. Now, I am in no doubt that Anthony's better at arguing about gravity than I am. He knows more about Einsteinian and Newtonian gravity than me and most of the people on the panel combined. Because he studied it and studied it and studied it and studied it. And I haven't. So for him, you come up with something that will catch me out undoubtedly in one day on gravity, and Anthony will be there right by my side going, well, actually, no, in Newtonian mechanics it works this way, and in Einsteinian it works that way. So they're completely non-compatible for X, Y, and Z reasons that Anthony could reel off in a minute. So you like that argument, but I know about your frustrations. I witnessed you having them with Arwen. So you can't flag that you love gravity all the time. That's just simply not true either.
No, but now that you said
we
the
all
G word,
witnessed that.
yeah. Now you have said the G word. Can we move on?
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
No.
Shit,
that wasn't the progression point. You said before Miki gave his presentation that you wanted to move on to gravity, but now there's a segue, and now we finished the segue, and we're not moving on to gravity.
Oh, we can still come back to gravity. Percent, whatever your name is. Feel free, go ahead.
I was saying, I didn't realize we're still on house cleaning this whole time.
House cleaning?
No, we don't do house cleaning in here.
Yeah, the housekeeping was done prior to 2020. Did say cleaning that.
What's up, percentage? How you been, brother?
How you doing, Elijah?
Nope, it's chocolate.
Oh, my bad.
He said,
hey,
you're batting 1,000
I always
today.
confuse you too.
No, that's all right. I always get confused with Elijah.
That's very racist.
Shout out to Neil's exhaust.
Not all Chinese men sound the same.
Just on that, I was with no Elijah, but I think it was Elijah. I was listening to QEs the other night, and I wondered if we could add something to the glossary. I'm not sure who he was talking to, but the person had a degree. And I think at the end of it, Elijah said, "You just wiped your ass with your degree," which I thought was lovely.
I need to give a shout out to Miles the Liar Davis. He turned up on Quantum Eraser's show the other night, dressed up in a new attire, and I think it was called, was it the geologist or the scientist? Biologist, yeah. Shout out to Miles the Liar Davis.
It was Miles.
Yeah, Miles.
Miles,
I recognize
biologist, Davis.
I recognize that I heard that voice before, but I had no idea it was Miles. And I was on that panel.
Adam was in the chat, right? And he arrived late, and I'd been in there going, "It's Miles Davis, it's Miles Davis." And then Adam comes in and goes, sort of tentatively, "Is that Miles Davis?" in the chat. I'm like, "Yeah, of course it is."
It's great that we can identify him.
Yeah, they all hope that we forget things to the same level as they do. Unfortunately, we don't. So we actually completely remember these little details, like how things work, what really happened, what their voices are like, what their character is like, even if it is years ago.
That's a good point.
I'm actually mad. I didn't catch that out because I heard him and I was just like, this guy's been around for a while. Based on what he's saying, I know he's been in this discussion for a while, and I've heard his voice, but I had no idea it was Miles.
But you could feel where he was at the way he was dealing with the words. Probably, I have this all the time. You size up somebody, like what language are they using? What mistakes have they not figured out yet, and then bypass them? You can hear it in the way they describe things.
It's also complacency. So where we have to be uber specific about everything we say, we have to watch every word, we have to be really careful about what we claim. All of those things leave us hypersensitive and very focused, very frosty. They are totally complacent because they're in the majority and any little mistake doesn't really matter. They'll get backed regardless. No matter, it's to the point where they can descend into total nonsense speak. I remember a conversation between Brenda and, was it Bob? I forget who. But they descended into talking about eating pencils or something. A complete cross purposes, still agreeing with each other.
Bob the fallacy guy, yep.
How did it know to be food?
Yeah, just complete cross purposes with each other. No semblance of understanding or coherence in the conversation. But they're still nodding along, agreeing with each other. And that says it all. You know, they can be completely complacent.
Not only that, they were saying how smart they were.
Shoes are not phenomena, Brenda.
Well, that's how they all nod along with, at best, you've disproved the radius. Such things. They're just, yeah, because it's coming out of your mouth. That's priority over what you're actually saying.
Yeah, until you put quotes around it and say it verbatim. And they say, that's misquoting me, that's a straw man, that's not right. It's like, yeah, so coming out of a glober's mouth, it'll be nods and cheers, but the exact same words from our lips, well, no. And that just sums it up, doesn't it?
Quote mining, isn't it? If we quote them in any way, it's cherry picking or quote mining.
It happens on the show. They'll say something, and then literally 30 seconds later, you'll repeat back to them, either paraphrasing slightly or sometimes verbatim their exact words, and they'll deny their own words 30 seconds after saying them because hearing them back from us makes them recoil.
Like this morning's pre-show with Rumpus saying it's not detectable through our senses, and then later saying it is detectable.
It's not detectable. Then later, we've got experiments to prove it's detectable.
Oh, sorry. You were saying? Sorry, I broke the moment. But what they mean to say is, oh great. What they mean to say is, no, I didn't let those words come out of your mouth because then it means something different as when I say it. So when you quote me back, that's wrong.
Yeah, when I say it, everyone on the globe side hears the tone and timbre of my voice and cheers. Yet when you say it, everybody boos and says it was wrong and I shouldn't have said it. It doesn't make any sense. Don't repeat it back verbatim ever again, because I didn't even say it.
Exactly.
That was a moment where, like, everyone's on the road and they're all approaching the roundabout and everybody starts giving way to somebody and nobody ends up going. That was just what's happened.
The Christian deadlock on a British roundabout, that's not something that's so prevalent. It is a bit more now in the States. They do have a few roundabouts, but they're here, yeah, exactly. Everyone's looking in one direction, giving way. Then suddenly everything can grind to a halt because everyone's too polite.
Those are all-way stop signs. I just go right through them because everybody's... I just go right through.
American driving attitudes are very different to British ones, but let's not get into that on a live show. So any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon.
No, Hillbilly Blue Balls demonstrated that you need the pipe to get the pressure, and then even though he thinks it's not a container because it doesn't have a lid, he's still got a container for the pipe for the gas pressure. So even every experiment's ever been shown has always got a container. So no, there always has to be one.
I don't know. You got guys saying that certain things have they're affecting gas molecules.
You've got that
You know?
tone, Neil. You've got that tone like you had on the pre-show when you're like, I don't know, I've spent some time at Brandon's and now I think about being a Glober again. You've got that kind of that tone.
Listen, incoherent nonsense has an effect on gases. Come on, Don Gio, tell him. You were saying it the other night.
Right, you've got to actually get the claim correct if you're going to have any semblance of being believable in your devil's advocate role here, Neil. So you've got to say incoherent dielectric acceleration, obviously, give it a bit of disdain as well in the tone, obviously has an effect on gases. And then maybe even chuck in an ad hom. You idiot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. It does. On a very short distance, it does. Very short distance.
Okay, when I looked it up, it said that you had to freaking cool it to 150 billionth of Kelvin. Whatever the hell that means. I'm just a floor guy.
What? I'm just wondering, like, if incoherent dielectric acceleration can, electrostatics, as it were, all that stuff, if it can repel gas because of a physical surface that is high on tension and then kind of causes this differential and a push. So how is that? How is that pulling the gas away?
It's not. That's what gas does.
Don't say
Hold
that.
on. That's what gas does by itself. Stop. That's what gas does all by itself. It's got these things called elastic collisions. So it'll bounce off a barrier and it'll bounce off other gas particles, effectively repelling them. In other words, the problem is they're not attracting one another. They're repelling each other, bouncing off each other. Yeah, they're doing the complete opposite of what is required by gravity, or an assertion that we got a downward bias. Things attracted in the direction of the ground. Well, gas doesn't do that. It expands in all direction and effectively repels itself because it bounces off itself. Unlike when it goes through a phase change, when it's almost like gravity. The masses attract one another, they even bond together. But that's phase change. It's definitely not gravity.
I hadn't even picked up on that. You're right. It repels and it's supposed to attract. I hadn't even picked up on that yet. I was just stuck up on, okay, so how is it going to influence that gas over 20 kilometers at least away? How is that going to gradually pull it in?
Yeah. How can you say it's being attracted to the Earth when it's literally bouncing off itself? It's not bouncing. It's not a mass attracting to itself. So far from attracting to the ground, it'll just get to it and then immediately repel away from it. Well, no, bounce off. But that's just the vernacular we use for this particular circumstance. Repel, bounce off, elastic collisions. We're just describing the same thing. But it's certainly not attracting, right?
I think I was talking about magnetism with the cooling the gases to 150 billionth of Kelvin.
Oh, you mean the gases in liquid form? Yeah. Magnetics can influence gases when they're actually liquid.
Yeah, but not in its natural state. We don't see it happening right now in the air.
Yeah, but that's because it's gases and it's not a liquid. That was the whole point.
Listen, you need a container to have the pressure. You need walls of a container, right? Yeah. I don't understand why everybody's trying to move away from that. I'm telling you, you're inventing your own freaking space, whoever you are.
Yeah, ether. This all come from electric universe stuff, right? And they've got a lot of heliocentrism in it. Now, they have a different description for the sky vacuum, and they call it ether. Well, you know, that's a massive conflict of interest. If you're following Ken Wheeler or Electric Universe dudes or dudettes, and they've got a heliocentric mindset, because you're going to quickly find that there's going to be problems. And that's what we highlight. Now, do I care that there's a crossover between flat earthers and Electric Universe? Not really. But, like you say, well, when there's a space assertion with a different description for it from Electric Universe, and we're disproving space as a whole, because you need a container for gas to form pressure for us to breathe here, then both go by the wayside, regardless if you're a flat earther fighting for one with ether and whether or not you're a globe earther fighting for space with the other. They're both debunked. We've got gas pressure here.
Man, you really struck me with the insight that electrostatics only pushes air away. That also explains like how indeed a turbine could be made by literally pushing the gas in one direction, not pulling it. So
Like a fan.
if the incoherent dielectric acceleration believers could basically demonstrate how electrostatics could literally pull in gas in some effect without pushing it in the opposite direction, right? That would be interesting.
So what you're saying is you talk about high standards. So please defy gas law to prove your claim. Nice challenge there, Arwin.
Well, our argument is them claiming there's a universal downward bias.
Nah, gas that just absolutely flies in the face of that.
That's the only problem I have with all of this. It really is. Like, I don't care. Like, go forth and be merry to discover all these great things. But is there a claim that comes behind this? That gas somehow goes down? That or things have a downward bias? That's my problem with this. Because, again, walking around with a helium balloon is trying to go up. So is there an upward bias for my helium balloon? And floaty bias for things that float? Because if not, maybe you should stop saying downward bias. Thanks.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No, just pictures.
Oh no.
E waves and S waves.
Is lava more dense than the Earth crust?
I don't think we're talking about lava here, Arwin.
It's molten iron
Liquid hot magma.
Right. But I think that magma, even like on the surface, which is not the molten iron core, like it is less dense. The heat of it and the liquid state makes it kind of expand. That's why it typically goes up in the volcano, right? Pressure, and it's less dense than the rock. So how is that? I wonder, like technically the core would have to be like really freaking heavy. So heavy that the rest of the Earth crust is floating on top of it. I'm taking this.
There's no evidence. There is no evidence of the molten iron core.
Yeah, but maybe the molten iron core is the thing for which there is the least evidence of all.
Wait, hold on. Maybe if we give Paul Voigt some time, he'll come back with that.
Because
Bob made it come back. You know, maybe the old guys are coming back.
Do you think we should rank the housekeeping questions in order of which has got the least amount of no evidence?
Nah, order's fine.
Well, it depends on what you're going to call evidence, though, because there isn't any evidence. Evidence is proof. For any of these claims in the housekeeping question, there is no evidence for any of them. None. So if you want to gauge it on what's claimed to be evidence for each one, which has got the least claim to be evidence, then yeah, molten iron core's in dead last, isn't it? Let's face it.
There's no hint of it whatsoever. It really is just like a Jules Verne story, completely made up with no trace. Like volcanoes is... If there were no volcanoes, you would probably not be able to even imagine what it was.
You're assuming that, number one, volcanoes are connected to this claim. No, they're not. The Ring of Fire is down to tectonic activity, according to the heliocentric model. Now, I'm not claiming that is or isn't the case, but there's not some pipe from the centre of the Earth up to volcanoes, Arwin. That's not being claimed.
No, but that's not what I meant, though. I'm not saying they are the same. It's just that if there was no lava, if you'd never seen lava in your life, just the suggestion that it's all floating on top this ball of liquid iron, in this case, you wouldn't even be able to imagine that. That would be so absurd to even hear that. It's really because of volcanoes and because of film footage of streaming lava that you can even just attempt to imagine it, really.
I'd say you're divining where they've got this story from and saying, well, if it wasn't for the fact they saw lava spewing out the sides of mountains, they wouldn't have come up with the idea that right at the middle we've got a molten iron core, and then from there you get the story of Thea, etc. But they wouldn't have even come up with it if it wasn't volcanoes That's what you're
Right,
suggesting.
because then it would be too hard for people to engage in the thought experiment, right? It has to still appeal. It has to take grip, or the spell's not going to work.
Well, it's just
But where would the self-perpetuating come from? Like where would that energy come from continuously?
let's see. They got us arguing. Not that.
Momentum, chocolate.
Nathan Nathan
yeah.
tells a good story. Nathan, tell the story. Come on, about the self-perpetuating online core.
We know. I know where
Great
it
story.
came from. The Thea.
Why is
and
it
all that,
self-perpetuating? Right.
Yeah, but
Now notice where you're all talking. In the begging the question, the Black Swan destroyed everything. There's no R's. There's no R. There's no glow.
I didn't even ask a question. How can I be begging a question?
Because you used an axe instead of ask.
don't blame me. He's from
He's
New York.
making fun of my accent. What should I say?
Ask it.
Accent.
You can't
I say
handle
axe.
it. You can't handle your axe.
I also say $5. Why? What
You
do
can't
say?
handle your
Guys.
axe end.
Okay, guys. Sleeping Warrior's been sat off mute. He's trying to explain self-perpetuating bit. Go ahead, Anthony.
I haven't been sat on mute.
Off mute. I heard you trying to get a word in when you were asked about the self-perpetuating bit, and then it descended into this.
No, I'm waiting patiently to move on to gravity.
Yeah, but
Yeah, we can move on.
How can we not explain? Can you? How can I phrase this? Please, can you explain why we ask for an evidence of a self-perpetuating, specifically molten iron core, Anthony?
Oh, there are no self-perpetuating systems apparently in the system, because that would be what did they call it? What's the word they used to describe it? Self-perpetuating. Yeah, there are no self-perpetuating systems. It's a violation of the first law of thermodynamics. Is that the question? Is that the answer that you were looking for?
Sort of. Why would it need to be that state in the first instance in terms of the temperature of the molten iron core versus the effects they claim in terms of magnetic effects? Why would it need to be self-perpetuating in the first instance? Why can't it just produce electromagnetic fields?
I don't know. I'm obviously being led somewhere here, but I'm not seeing it, if I'm honest.
But it's beyond the Curie point. That's where I'm leading you.
Yeah, but even beyond the Curie point, it doesn't cause anything electrical or magnetic. So, yeah, it's just weird. If it were solid, then if it were spinning, yeah, it might actually have, just like with turbines, some kind of electrical effect.
Yeah,
but it's molten, so it can't.
It's got to be spun like a dynamo, right, to induce this effect if it's beyond the Curie point. So therefore, it's got to be doing this by itself, hence self-perpetuating, so that it can still generate a magnetic field beyond the Curie point. It's just another layer of bullshit on top of a just so story that doesn't work for various reasons.
Yeah, it's very convoluted.
Yeah, we've been talking about it for 20 minutes.
I'm feeling that gravity's being discriminated against.
Any scientific evidence of gravity.
We've got 4 minutes left of the live show. Gravity's not even
When the
left.
molten iron core gets more than 30 seconds, it starts to get hate.
Yeah.
It's hilarious, man.
Molten iron core bias. Get out.
Have we got time for the story of Thea before Anthony? No, I'm only joking. Go ahead, Anthony. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
But you know, funny you should ask, Nathan. There you go. My screen is now being presented for the audience. This is Demo Lab. They've disabled comments, so they've made it available for kids. They do it on all of their videos. Just means that you can't respond.
Stop!
I haven't looked at anything.
God, he doesn't listen. No, your screen isn't presented. Shout out to Skeptic936. He says, scientific evidence of what? So you need to present your screen again. There we go.
Is that working?
Yes.
I didn't see the error message pop up. So this is from Demo Lab. Comments are all disabled, and basically this is aimed at newbie ball earthers that come to the topic, and they hear this Cavendish and they want to see what Cavendish is all about. And this makes it look so trivial, so easy to do, so absolutely you've got to be crazy to even think that that mass doesn't attract mass. And you can see it's being set up in a university setup, and you can see that she shuts these two little steel doors down that are blocking the light weights, the little weights inside the thing. She turns on the laser and it bounces off this mirror and it casts onto the wall that's far left. You'll see it in a minute. And then you can see that she starts putting the balls into position. You'll see that the casting of the shadow or the casting of the laser is being bounced onto the back wall in a sec. And basically all she does, and I'll have to just play it to show how beautiful it is. All she does is she moves the weights in, and you can watch this. I think I'm on double speed here. Yeah, double speed. So she moves it in, and look how simple it is, right? So it's beautiful. And then she moves the balls, and then she watches it comes back, and hey, that's it. Gravity. We may as well all go home because mass attracts mass, guys.
No.
What?
Honestly,
it's a look.
No, I've not.
Anthony's conclusion was rubbish. It's just another Cavendish demonstration. That's all it is, right? Anthony's just showing Cavendish demonstration.
No, it's not. It goes more than that. It makes it look so easy to be done. I mean, if you go and research Cavendish tests now, you can see that they're doing it in their dormitory bedrooms in university. They're doing it on the train. They're doing it anywhere. Cavendish now is so easy to do that anybody can do it.
I thought
you actually go try and do it.
I thought Cavendish was for the density of the Earth.
The what?
Yeah.
What?
That's supposed to be the experiment. Cavendish is just a toy to delude yourself that mass attracts mass.
Yeah.
Right?
Didn't I call it that before, Riley? They're just playing with a little toy.
Yeah.
Ball in a torture bar. It's like
Indeed. We'll no doubt cover it in the after show, but with that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, or joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Another massive thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. Again, stay tuned if you're watching on either Premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Arrives a little later, so that's just for us.
I get you. So they get it the next day.
2 days later, usually.
Or whenever he puts it out. So it's just delayed information, the pre and the after.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's still no big deal. It's still the same people saying the same stuff.
Well, it means you can be a little bit more of a blabbermouth during the after show.
Why? So 2 days later
to prepare for the effect.
Excellent, Darwin. So you can just say, I can be a jerk and no one will find out for 2 days.
Right.
Are you talking about the after show and how it's delayed for the public?
Yeah, I'm just trying to say, what's the difference? We're all being honest as honest as we can be on the live show as we are in the pre and the after show. So then Armin said, well, because it's aired 2 days later, so you can get ready for the after effect.
Members get it straight away.
No, I get it. No, I know what you're saying, but I'm looking at it from just, I've never deviated any way between the three parts of it. Pre-show, show, and after show.
Are you saying you don't watch the premieres?
Kent, are you forgetting when you...
I'm on the show all the time. Why do I have to watch it?
Are you forgetting when you used to just watch it on YouTube?
What's that again?
Everybody's in the chat all the time. How dare you, Tent Man?
Well, sometimes I go... sometimes I do jump into chat when I have time. I'm not saying I don't, but...
You forget when you used to just watch the show, like on YouTube? I used to think you guys were stars. I used to set my timer.
Then you got to know us.
Neil, what the hell? We're still stars. How dare you?
I do. I'm just saying, I still think you're stars, yes. But I'm just saying, I used to have my timer set for 9. And then when freaking clocks changed. I was all screwed up. Set it up for the after show. Used to get it. Yeah, I remember.
We're not stars. We're just mediocre stars.
No.
That was a failed pun.
Yeah.
You've got A-list
Wow.
celebrities.
Even you didn't laugh on that one.
You've got
It was a stretch.
A-list celebrities at the top. That's like film stars. Then you got B-listers. That's like TV stars, C-listers, radio stars. Then below that you got like Z-listers, porn stars. And then below that you got us.
No, we're F-listers.
Yay, we're below porn stars. Great.
Flat. We're flat listers.
Really? Now we have to descend to that? Come on.
Well, not for nothing. It is weird when you speak to somebody and they be like, yo, I've been listening to you for like 5 years. And it's like, that's weird.
So is my dog. What does that mean?
What the hell, man?
Yeah.
Your dog didn't have to connect to the internet and turn on your show to listen
My
to.
my dog knows more good arguments for flat Earth than people. Let me tell you.
If you say
Well,
so.
you could train your dog to actually respond to fallacy behavior.
I don't think you could.
Speak.
Yeah, he does. He's always on guard.
I know we're in the after show, but let's not descend it too quickly into farce.
We got 2 days to clean it up, Nathan.
Quick.
Don't worry about it, Nathan. No one will know for 2 days.
My members will know within hours, so I like to get there. I like to see that actually.
Yeah,
See
but
their
they paid
reactions.
for it. Yeah.
So that I normally one of the things I will search through because I don't have time for the huge amount of comments that I get, especially if I'm being spammed, which I am at the moment. But nevertheless, the members' comments I do definitely read, and I wait with bated breath to see what the comments are from the members only shows. So as soon as this after show goes out, once it's been published, I'll be refreshing it, seeing, has anyone commented? Because I want to hear the members' views on it more than anyone's.
I agree. Yeah, members are good. Very happy to have some myself.
So is Virus in chat? Does he want to come and talk to us again? Because I had to leave early yesterday. And
Well, before you do, shout out to Quantum Eraser's new series of numpty clips, which start tonight, or in 2 days' time, if you're not a member.
Ooh. Hey, isn't John in chat?
He's here.
I
At
mean,
least
Obviously
nobody
not here.
said what day it was today, Nathan.
But Monday, let me get it right. Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. It's going to be a numpty clip coming out from the Quantum Eraser YouTube channel. So he's got about 120, I think, something around that figure. And I've said look, trickle them out over time. So he set his times yesterday on the call with me, and they're going to be Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So in other words, the QE channel will have a show that's live on Tuesday, as it always has anyway. And then throughout the week, you got a Monday show, numpty clip, Tuesday live show, Wednesday and Thursday numpty clip, nothing on a Friday, Ballbusters on a Saturday bi-weekly, and then nothing on a Sunday. So QE's got quite a nicely spread out schedule, I would say. At least while he's got numpty clips to still publish. Hey, Brian.
Yo, Nathan, did you see that rapper Ludacris come out and make a video against Flat Earth?
Against Flat Earth? Oh, I vaguely did.
Yeah,
I'm sure I saw a reaction video to it.
He goes, what do you call it? He talks about the phases of the moon, and he's like, everybody knows the Earth's shadow creates the phases of the moon.
No, it doesn't.
I swear to goodness, bro.
Oh, so he,
check it out.
I love it. Stepped up to the podium with a complete ignorance of the topic. I love it.
Oh yeah, and then he goes, he's like, I'm about, he goes, and if this is too deep for y'all, like right after he says that, I was like, oh my god,
wow,
this is hilarious.
Yeah, he's a clown.
well, at least he lived up to his namesake. I find that very ludicrous.
So no one noticed
True.
that Isa and Brian arrived at the same time. Were you guys kissing up in the tree?
Oh god.
Totally. Who's Brian? Where is he? Where are you, sweetheart?
He is in the G Plus panel. You're on Discord. So.
Another quick
I
plug.
didn't realize
Hey,
that.
Brian.
So hopefully, depending on Brian's
Maybe
schedule, we might be doing a presentation tomorrow. So that's what I prepped you for yesterday, guys, on G Plus, that I want feedback from. Can you all remember me plugging me suggesting?
Yes.
Good. It might happen
Yes,
tomorrow.
yes,
Depends.
you remember.
It might happen tomorrow instead of an after show, is what I'm saying. So it might be that we end the live show, and if Brian pops in, it'll be like, "Thanks for watching" to the after show audience, and then we'll launch straight into a new show, pre-recorded. I don't think I'll do it live, where Brian will present his information. Hopefully, you'll hang around and hear it, and then give your opinions afterwards. Or it might not be. Go on, Brian. Sorry.
I'll just say this quickly because I'm going to have to go on to mute. Yeah, I'll be in tomorrow, Nathan, to do that, hopefully. And I'm just looking for people to be there because it's a long presentation, so I'll have to just break it up into a few different parts. Because if I just go straight through the whole lot, it'll be too long. People won't hold concentration. That's all it is. So, yeah, I'll have to go on mute now because I'm going off for an appointment, but I'll be listening in. And
Okay.
I'll talk to you later. Thank you.
Perfect. Hopefully it'll come in the style of a QE similar presentation. There'll be bits broken up so that there's a bit of feedback in between, and it'll be more digestible. I completely agree. But yeah, hopefully you'll all.
Brian is so polite.
He's so polite. Yeah, you can tell he's had a good upbringing. I agree.
Yes, Brian is very polite.
Yep, Issa's very impressed.
God, you want to stir that up?
Start the fight. That's my job, Huey.
What up, Huey?
We still have some unfinished business, by the way.
Dude, it'll never
Real
be done.
quick.
It's like the globe versus flat Earth, dog. We'll just be in it forever.
Hold up,
Sorry,
up, Issa.
I
We
like
still have some
dancing with
unfinished.
you, Quano. We
Hold
can
on,
handle a little
guys.
tango.
Wait
We're
a
all
second,
good.
okay? Just shut the hell up for a second, all right? Relax. We have some unfinished business from yesterday, Mr. Samurai, don't we? Samurai.
I heard my name. Hello.
Yeah, hi. Have you put your presentation together on how natural laws go through the scientific method?
Yes, I could tell a
Yes.
All right. We want to go for this, Nathan, or you got something else?
No, not at all. I'm intrigued to see what he's come up with, actually.
Getting popcorn as we speak.
Same here. Excellent,
Wanna
Sam.
do-
Thank you.
So we're going to do the second law, right?
It's up to Sam. Depends. He might have started on the first law for all we know. Sam, you're kind of in. Whoever's making that noise in G+, can you stop? You're kind of in charge of the
I
mic
wanna
from here
open
on
his
in,
drink.
Samurai. So I don't know if you want to send something in live stream that you want me to present. Feel free to tell me, and I'll get someone to send it me on Skype, and I'll put it up on screen. Mike's all
Don't
yours.
laugh already, Nathan.
Hold on, chocolate. Mike's all yours.
So first of all, laws of nature are laws of nature are a product of the scientific method, like every other law or experiment. They follow the scientific method, but first of all, I have to say that there isn't one scientific method. A scientific method is just used to
Shut the hell
give the general public an explanation of how scientists work in general. It isn't something the scientists have to follow. So,
no, we're not listening to your friggin' rant. Numpty bullshittery. Please.
That's literally
take
the
us through
definition.
Second law.
Huey.
I'm gonna
Hold
mute your
on.
dumb ass.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Sorry, Sam. Am I correct in my understanding of what you're saying? You're saying that these laws of nature do go through the scientific method, but there's a little caveat. The method that they're going to go through isn't the scientific method. It's something else that I'm going to call the scientific method because there's lots of them. Is that correct?
There isn't something as a scientific method. The scientific method is no scientist would go to another scientist and say, you didn't follow the scientific method, but step by step, that's why your experiment or your results are wrong. You would only criticize
yes, they
the
do.
experiment itself or something wrong in it. and others.
Yes, they do. They do this in
Well, that's the
medical
scientific method
science
then.
all the time.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. If they say something about the experiment, then that's part of the scientific method. Do you understand? Let's break it down even further. Do you understand between singular and plural? What's the difference between singular and plural with words?
One, multiple.
The scientific method. There's no S on the end. Number one. Number two, I don't give a shit about your bullshit links. I want you to take us through, I want you to validate the second law of thermodynamics via the scientific method. Step one, natural phenomena observed, please.
So, first of all, I don't want to jump to the next topic now. Here I have two citations from the University in Munich and from Labs Bio, unc.edu. And the first says that there is no single universal formal scientific method.
Let me tell you something. We already been down this road with you. This is like frigging Groundhog Day with your bullshit citations that I trashed before. Now, listen to the question. Natural phenomena observed, please.
So the natural observed phenomena, the doesn't have to be natural observed phenomena, but for natural laws, for example, second law of thermodynamics.
Sorry.
The natural observed
Guys,
phenomena
stop a second.
has to be
Stop,
step
hold on.
one. That's where you
Hold
get
on,
your
stop it,
dependent
stop.
variable.
Hello? Sam, please can you repeat your last statement where you said that it doesn't have to be natural in a natural law? Can you just say that once more?
No. I said in general, the observation doesn't have to be a natural observation. It can be also an event or problem. It can even be just a thought. It's enough.
Just a thought. What? Didn't you say you were going to talk about natural laws and how they went through the scientific method? Now you're just telling us we could just think about it. It's the same thing.
Exactly. The scientific laws come from. Are they just there from the very beginning? No, they're scientists, that people made these laws.
Clown show. Natural phenomena observed, please. We're talking about the second law of thermodynamics. Do you have ADHD or something? You're a numpty dipshit. We're just trying to figure out if you're got ADHD. We can order some Adderall.
No,
Yeah, they come up with things by
maybe.
looking at the natural world.
He does not have ADHD, okay? He might have a little concentration problems, but
Okay, so can we get a conclusion? Same conclusion as yesterday that I gave, hopefully.
So in general, the natural laws. One question: where do they come from? Are the people just saying, "Yeah, this is a law"?
That's not the question. Natural phenomena observed. Where do they come from, numpty dipshit? Natural phenomena observed with the second law of thermodynamics. We're going to go through the scientific method and prove your statement. Not where they come from, not their color, right? Not the length of their skirt. Natural phenomena observed, please, Samurai.
I would say we talk about it in general, not about one specific example, because I can't do that. I'm not a scientist.
Tired of listening to your dumbass.
So in general, the second law of thermodynamics is proven through the scientific method, according to you. Okay.
And he also said that laws of nature were the result of the application of scientific method.
Do you want to give the conclusion, Huey, or do you want me to?
Go ahead.
Okay. If a law of nature, which is a description of something that applies and occurs always, a description, not an establishment of cause, but a description only, a description. That's a law of nature. Now, it has to actually be correct, has to actually be occurring always for it to be a law that needs to be described in the first instance. Now, the scientific method, on the other hand, establishes the cause of the effect. Now, description of effect isn't establishment of cause. Now, if a law of nature had been through the scientific method, it wouldn't be a law of nature anymore. It would be an established, verified, experimentally true statement of fact when describing the cause of the effect. Now, the effect could still have the same description applied to it as was previously described in the law if you establish the cause for it. The description probably wouldn't change, you just establish the cause, but you wouldn't call it a law of nature anymore because it's not just a description of the effect, it's the established cause of the effect. That's science. Very different to natural law. If you've put it through the method, it's no longer a law.
Yeah, it's not a description of what's happening. It's an explanation of why or how it's happening. Big difference.
I'm gonna do something really funny. Let's just end it with Samurai. Well, this is like 3 times dead. This is really funny. Can you tell me the difference between natural law and scientific theory?
So first of all, I want to read a citation I searched out. Scientific laws.
Fuck off. No, you're not reading your citations. You don't understand either that citations aren't the actual argument. I must have said this 150 times. Let me do this one more time for the brain dead. Citations merely support your claim, right? However, they need to be supported because even at face value, every single citation is nothing more than a baseless assertion fallacy. I don't really give a shit who says it, right? Whether it be Little Miss Muffet or Richard Feynman, it doesn't matter. If that person that you're citing doesn't support their horse shit within that paper, then guess what happens after you cite it? You do. You have to either demonstrate it or show it exist logically. Do you get me, sunshine? See, I introduce all these terms and phrases to you people, like you, Samurai, you numpty dipshit, but you don't know what they mean, right? You just think you could go with your Googling fingers, type in a key phrase, and then put up any horse shit that you want. Well, this guy says this. Who cares? You got to demonstrate it now. So, back to the question. What's the difference between natural law and scientific theory? And you better answer that question. Or not.
John.
No sound
You're a
effects,
pretender
please.
clown numpty dipshit.
Whoever's playing sound
Good.
effects, don't do that, please.
Don't do what?
Sound effects. Whoever's doing it.
I don't know who it was.
I
Man, the
don't
crickets are
care.
great.
Just don't do it again. Don't want sound effects over these moments of silence. No, thank you. It's not a cheesy 80s radio show.
I quite like them, but
I know
anyway,
you do.
John,
I don't care. I don't want them. If I hear who's doing them,
Right.
you'll be removed.
Understood, Nathan. No problem.
Just no sound effects, please. We're discussing the nature of our existence. There's a mass deception. I take this seriously. I don't want sound effects.
Stop being a massive victim, John.
Yeah,
There.
but you know what? Not for nothing. There are good quotes that he's got, like Neil deGrasse and Michio Kaku. You know, sometimes those could be, useful. I'm just saying.
Okay, I don't want to debate it either. I just don't want crickets in a
Great.
moment of silence. I don't want actual crickets. That's all. Sound effects, quotes, people saying stuff. That's fine. Different. Anyway, that's not the point.
right. What if we
Sam
say
I've
crickets?
completely hijacked Huey's point. He's asked a question. What's the difference between scientific theory and natural law?
He's not going to answer it. See?
It is nearly impossible to talk with you guys.
Excellent.
But yeah, how can you talk?
Silent,
How
radio
can you talk
silence.
to someone?
Ask it again. Last chance.
How
Come
can you
on.
talk to someone that's a?
It took you 10 minutes to come with an appeal to format fallacy. That's the kind of thing you'd hope to rattle off immediately as a defence.
No, because we
No
don't deal
fallacies.
with your bullshit.
Amazing.
That's why.
Last chance. Come on. What's
Hey,
the
Nathan,
difference
can I get a
between
shot?
scientific theory?
In a second, DC, just give him one more chance. He's saying it's impossible to talk to us. We're leaving massive prolonged silences after asking the question 5 times. What's the difference between scientific theory and natural law?
So a theory in general describes observations of nature using the scientific method, and a law of nature implies cause and effect.
Incorrect. Incorrect.
Okay, what is it?
Wrong.
Incorrect.
Okay, what is it?
Try again.
My bad then.
Because you were wiki googling it while
No,
you
I
were being
don't know
quiet.
then.
That's incorrect wherever
No.
you got it from.
I want Google.
Yeah, we could Google science.
Is it then?
Where'd you get that
Try
from?
Try it one last time.
Don Gio posted something. You can read it out.
One last time. What's the difference between a scientific theory and a law of nature?
Let me read what Don Gio posted. A theory is an extensively tested explanation of an observed behavior, and the law is the observations condensed to a pattern.
Yeah. So laws are descriptions, scientific theories that go through the scientific method, by the way, are explanations. What's the difference between a description and an explanation?
Explanation. It says what exactly should happen.
Nope.
It says it by experiments, observations, and everything.
Nope.
Come on.
I
I
asked
said it
you.
before, man.
I asked you what is the difference. Just don't worry about the sciencey part. What is the difference between a description and an explanation? We're in second grade now.
Description just describes what's happening or not.
A description
Doesn't
describes.
go into
That's really
detail.
deep.
No detail.
Descriptions, let me solve it for you since you lose. Descriptions only deal with what's and isness. Explanations deal with hows and whys. See you next year when you retake second grade again. Okay? Clown.
What about the gravitational laws?
A law.
The gravitational laws.
Debunked with a helium balloon.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Some laws can be debunked, some can't. The ones that suit you can.
Yes, that's correct.
And the ones that
Yes,
don't.
that's correct. That's correct. The pseudoscience nonsense that people make up. Yeah, it's interesting because when QE cut you off earlier, the words you used were scientific law, which is actually an oxymoron. But there's a reason why that oxymoron exists. It's because people who know that an explanation for something can be called science, in that context, a scientific law, and it's merely a description, you can then hijack the term and you can attribute that word, science, to other descriptions of things that occur. For example, lights in the sky, you can describe what they are. You can give them names. You can ascribe orbital paths to them. Merely a description that you've described it with. But you can call it science if you hijack natural law and call it scientific law, which it isn't. It's an oxymoron. It hasn't gone through the scientific method. It's not science. But if you're going to hijack that term to give credence to stories that you're going to make in terms of your descriptions of things that make up our existence, then you're going to want people to believe you, and therefore calling it science, and also calling natural law science lends, how does QE pull it? It greases the skids for their just so stories.
Got it.
One question: how exactly did you debunk the gravitational law with a helium balloon?
You're going to start asking us questions about gravity and stuff after you don't even know the difference between a description and an explanation. Don't you have any shame? Any honor?
Sure I told you the
You're
difference.
just starting to climb up the dipshit that should be picking up cans alongside of the road, correct?
If you don't know, you can say you don't know. It's enough.
You don't know. Ask your sister.
I already told him. Helium balloon debunked.
Supervised.
I already told you.
And how does it debunk it? Can you explain?
Let me answer that.
It's a law which you're debunking, so
You're
please.
going to entertain him.
Oh,
All right.
God.
I want to ask him a question back if I can. You said that how did you debunk the law of gravitation? Can you tell me before we answer the question, is the law of gravitation Newton's law of gravitation or is it a law of nature?
Ooh. Counter question, I see. The Newtonian law of gravity doesn't apply in general. It isn't law of nature, I would say. But
It's one or the
still
other.
we
It's either
observe that mass
Newton's law of
always.
gravitation or it's a law of nature. Which one is it?
Gravity, or wait, can you say it again?
The law of gravitation is either a law of nature or it's Newton's law. Which one is it?
Newton made the gravitational law. A gravitational law.
Correct. So it's not a law of nature then, correct?
The Newtonian one, no.
Correct. So because it's not a law of nature, and we can demonstrate with a helium balloon that Newton's law of gravitation can be violated very easily.
And how's that?
Is it falling to the ground?
What does a helium balloon do that?
Does it fall to the ground at 9.8 meters per second? A helium balloon. What about steam? Does that fall to the ground?
No,
at
does
9.
it have to?
Maybe interrupt the clarity that pummels your claim. Maybe interrupt continually. Maybe I'll try again. So it does not move towards the center of the Earth's mass at 9.8 meters per second. So it doesn't do that then. A helium balloon, that is, doesn't do that, correct?
We never claimed it should because we can explain it with mass attracting mass.
And the mass of Earth's attracting the mass of the helium balloon, is it?
Of course, it is.
It is. Helium
Why is
balloon
it-
go down,
why
go
is it
boom,
going
boom
up then?
towards center of mass of Earth. Does it?
The air around it just goes down more.
Sorry, air, gas does not go down, go boom, boom.
Sounds like a
And we're
distilled
talking
story.
about the helium
Oh, he
balloon.
said buoyancy, basically.
Jesus wept.
Yes.
Try that again. Sorry, the helium balloon, like all of these objects that have mass, is going to go towards the center of the Earth, right? And that includes the mass of the helium. But it's not doing that.
It would if there would be no air around it. The air is going more down.
And that's natural. That's naturally occurring in our nature, is it? That's something that we need to worry about generally occurring. Our complete lack of air that we have. So not really a natural law that's inviolable then. Definitely invalidated by a helium balloon, which isn't going towards the center of the mass of the Earth at 9.8 meters per second. That's not happening. Therefore, pissing in the face of Newton. Do you understand that or not?
Interesting. It should be in the news. Flat Earthers debunks Newton's laws with a helium balloon.
That's correct.
And the other thing that goes one step from that is that we didn't even need to debunk Newton's law of gravitation because it's not a natural law of gravitation, it's Newton's law of gravitation. Einstein did the exact thing for us in 1915 when he said that gravity wasn't a force anymore. Now, I'm not saying that I agree with Einstein, but when you ask the question, how did you debunk the law of Newton, the law of gravitation? When we established that it was only Newton's law that's not really a law of nature, it's just subject to Newton's interpretation. When we point out that helium balloons debunk that, and then further Einstein debunked it in 1915, that leaves you up shit creek without a paddle, mate.
Furthermore, the law that you just tried to claim as a law would only work according to your own words in a circumstance that we will never experience unless you create it. Doesn't sound very natural to me, buddy.
Exactly.
So, now that one's dead, Quantum Eraser, are you listening? No, he's going for a coffee.
He's dug in.
I guess while he's away, we'll carry on with that. Our friend here.
What do you mean carry on? We're finished. We're done. What do you mean?
Well,
yeah, we're done. So essentially, There is no law of gravitation. It's just Newton's one that he devised. That was superseded by Einstein in 1915, and helium balloons debunk it as well. So that's the answer to your question. Do you have any further questions?
Einstein,
I have a question.
Einstein
hang on,
just
hang on.
found
Never
another
said-
cause for this effect.
Say again, Samurai.
Einstein just found another cause for this effect because we still see mass attracting mass, or mass is having an effect on other masses, to be concrete.
Einstein said mass doesn't attract mass. He said it was an effect.
Yes, that's why I'm saying mass has an effect on other masses.
He
What
can't even
this mass
define
does to
math.
cause this mass
Why are you
attracting
guys
mass
even
is
entertaining
irrelevant.
this?
Because you weren't here. I was trying to
You
get your
collared
attention.
him. Hold on.
Because we're
Johnny,
bored,
listen.
man.
Yeah, I was going to say, you collared him and then it disappeared a minute ago. So if you want to round out with Samurai, you were the one who started this, QE. If you want to round out with him, I'm
It's your
more than
fault,
happy.
John.
Make your conclusion.
I told you guys after he didn't know what descriptions or explanations were, and then you wanted to query him on other subjects. I was like, "You gonna entertain this?" And you guys kept on going on. You're like talking to a village idiot.
I agree.
John, listen. John, did you,
one in
you
the
know when you, had
leg.
that conversation, when you had the conversation with the biologist, the scientist of 35 years, you premiered it yesterday, right?
Tuesday.
Did you realize that was Miles the Liar Davis that you were talking to? Yeah, that's who it was you were talking to.
I didn't either.
I don't know the gentleman, only to hear you call Miles Liar Davis. This guy said he was a biologist of 35 years, so he's a complete liar?
He's a complete liar. Well, he might be a biologist, but he doesn't know scientific method, but it was Miles the Liar Davis.
Miles the Liar Davis was very active around the flat earth debates during the Isle of Man days, and then he kind of dropped off. So
No, he was on Jose JG Retard show. He's on one of my numpty clips.
Oh,
bashing
wow.
bashing his own face in with a shovel. Just a short cameo, but there you go.
I just wanted to make sure you were aware, because I was listening to it yesterday on double speed, but because his microphone was rubbish, I had to slow it down to be able to pick out his words. And then I started picking up on his inflections, and the longer the conversation went on, the more he slid back to his normal voice, and I was like, "That's Miles the Liar Davis."
Really?
Honestly,
Yeah,
you know when he
told me
changes his
that,
microphone.
I went back and listened to it. I was like, yeah, that was definitely you, man. And I didn't recognize it. It's so funny.
When he changes his microphone, it goes really good for a bit, but then it starts tailing off. In that period, after he changes his microphone, but before it starts going rubbish, it's clear as day Miles Davis.
Limited number of
I heard
gaps,
Nathan.
multiple
Go ahead,
roles.
Nathan.
Go on, QE.
No, I heard that. I'd seen you write in the chat. You said, "Is that Miles Davis?" And I blew it off, but it seems like everyone's thinking that was him. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's funny that even going undercover, he still manages to hit that numpty clip level. Even when we don't know it's him.
Undercover.
Can't hide numpty. It's just, if you're a numpty, you're a numpty.
Pretty much. Word
You
on your
can't
sleeve.
hide numpty. Is that what you said?
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yo, guys, who's Miles Davis?
Some guy.
He's a guy
Guy
that
player.
lives, he's a guy that lives in.
All I know is the
somewhere
trumpeter.
He lives somewhere in Scotland, and he hates me that much that he went and repeated an observation that I did. And basically, he had to lie about his height to make it sound plausible, because it was too low for it to be a ball. So he went to a point and he claimed that I was about 40 feet off the ground, which was higher than where I'd said. He was physically lower than where I was, but he'd given a much higher elevation than what it said on Google Earth and what I'd claimed when I was at my higher elevation. And he put himself at higher than where I actually was, but even though he was lower. So me and Ranty were like, that guy's fucking lying. So we went back and literally measured it to see how tall it was, and he doubled it. He had to make it higher than what it actually was to give it a bit of wiggle room on the interpretation for refraction. And me and Ranty were like, you're a lying sack.
I was there for that. I remember seeing one of the pictures, right? And from where he was standing, I can't remember who it was that was holding the pole, but we'd got like a couple of lengths of pole and just sort of strapped them together somehow to see if we could get it to the top and then just measure the pole. And it wasn't quite long enough, but you took the picture from where it was, and it's like clearly you're just at the bottom of this little bank on the beach below.
Yeah.
And it's so clearly like just a few feet. But you're like, hang on, 40 feet? You're having a laugh.
Yeah, I said it was about 20 feet. We measured it to be about 21.5 feet. It was a guesstimate. It was close enough, within 1.5 feet. But his guesstimate was 40 feet. Now, that where he actually was, he's put himself at 40 feet. I was significantly higher than where he was, and I'd only claimed 35 feet, but he's claimed he was at 40 feet and lower than where I was. And I was like, you're a lying sack of shit. So we went back and measured it, and he doubled it. He literally doubled it. But he needed to do that to present the refraction argument, because the refraction numbers were miles out. So he had to get higher. So that's what he did. He lied about his height to get the refraction argument.
That's what they do. They're, like I say, on the ball side, they'll cherry pick their arguments. They'll find that one photo that makes it look as bally as they can when they beg the question and use their calculator, while simultaneously claiming cherry picking left, right, and centre. You know, their selective reporting will then be presented. If it has any flaws found in it, they'll change the measurements on the fly because they didn't give them out in the first place. Meanwhile, demanding of us every single feasible measurement that could be taken. Meanwhile, they'll give you one slide and go, here you go, proof. No measurements, no positional data, nothing.
Can I say something real quick? I don't say dumb very often, but it is extremely dumb to tell me to prove magnetism. It's like asking me to prove the wind. It's
I agree.
That's
Who
so
asked you to
dumb.
prove? Who asked you to prove magnetism?
How would you prove wind?
Don't fall into that trap, because that'll make you look silly quick, Anthony. Nobody's
It's
claiming
not
that
easy
we
to
don't
prove
have
the wind. We
magnetism,
all
though.
know it's there, but how do you prove it? It's not
Hold
like
on.
we
There's
see its
gotta be a point.
effects, but
Hold
how do
on,
we prove
Anthony.
that it's a thing?
Hold on. There's got to be a point to whatever that gentleman just said. Who was it that just spoke a second ago?
Don, it is me, bud.
Go ahead. What's your point in saying that?
Go to bed, Don.
They're trying to tell me to use natural science to prove magnetism. I find it just a bit dumb. I don't say dumb very often, man. I really don't.
Who's they?
Who's they?
Oh, in the chat. In the chat.
Hey.
Is
Magnetism.
Ed one of the days?
I think your point is that, are you really denying that there is an effect that's a magnetic effect? Because isn't that self-apparent? Isn't that really obvious?
No, they're just trying to mock our scientific method with a D, not S, and that's just how they try to win.
It's not us.
Here you go.
I think you'll find that's quantum eraser's scientific method. How dare you?
No, it's not. It's not a pin.
All right. Somebody criticized me in my chat on my show today about why are you holding on to the QE method? So it's spreading.
Yeah, they do that a lot. They really do.
Yeah,
That's funny because my girl was telling me the other day how her son was learning science in school, went through the scientific method. I don't think QE teaches at that school, so I don't know. That sounds kind of stupid.
Maybe QE has a night shift or a day shift somewhere.
No, there's a method behind this madness. The reason is because they want to attack us on a personal level. So they have to bring the argument, if it's a good argument especially, to the man. So that's not the black swan argument destroying the claim that we have a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon. No. That is actually Nathan Oakley's argument. And Nathan Oakley is an XYZ. Therefore, Nathan Oakley's an XYZ. Let's forget all about the argument.
Nathan, your reference frames are ruined.
That's definitely not a Nathan Oakley argument. I don't need reference frames or anything.
Hey, was that Ed piping in, as Don Gio was saying? Was he
Yep,
the one?
as
Don?
always.
Right.
What's Ed's issue? Doesn't like your claims of magnetic effects? What's
Oh
Ed?
no, me and him go at it all the
The
time.
problem is Don applies
Go to
standards
bed,
of
go to
evidence
bed.
to us, but when we
Whoever's
apply
telling
those
him to go
same
to bed,
standards
stop.
to him, he's suddenly crying.
What's the debating issue, Ed? Not the personal issue.
that we're applying the same standards of evidence to him, and he is dishonest, so he doesn't accept it.
Yeah. Standards of evidence for what? Just fill us in on where we're at, Ed, so we're up to speed with your argument.
I'm not making an argument on this.
No, you
What's
guys are asking me for the
standards,
scientific
guys,
method.
please. Trying to get this onto some sort of rail, right? Ed, what's he claiming that needs to be held to a certain standard of evidence that you're challenging?
Magnetism.
What was it again, Don? Can you repeat it?
Magnetism. That's what you want me to.
And
prove.
what about magnetism? I think you said it replaced gravity or something.
No, I did not say that.
Can you repeat it?
It's motions
I'm
of
pretty sure you did.
electric charges. That's what the cause is, and you don't like
That's
that.
exactly right.
Really? Did you? Can you show me evidence for all of that and your tests and everything?
But the motions of electric charges. You never worked on a piece of electronic equipment ever, then?
Yeah, go ahead.
Have you
There
ever
you
worked
go.
on a piece
That's
of
why.
Ed? Have you ever worked on a
wait
piece
a
of
second.
electronics ever?
Equipment.
Ed, have you ever
That's
worked on a?
man-made. That's
Why are you
man-made,
rumpusing
Nathan.
me? Can you detect that this is going to humiliate you? I think so.
No, it's humiliating you actually because it's
Of course it is. Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
is that hey is that Dick Ed there talking?
Why, dumbass?
No need. Okay. Is there anything else that you wanted to challenge, Ed? While we're here.
Nope. No, I'm done.
Well,
I rest my
it's
case.
not natural. So, do you have anything in nature that shows it, Nathan?
There's what? Why are you asking me? I was trying to get that argument on the rails for you and your opponent. Why are you asking
Well, you
me?
just talked about electrical equipment, didn't you?
I asked if you ever worked on any.
Yeah, but that's man-made. So
Have you ever worked on any?
It's man-made. Why does it matter?
Right. Because I claimed it was experimentally valid, did I? Yeah. You don't need to be attacking me. I'm trying to get you onto your opponent who you've actually got an argument with. Me, I'm not making any claims here at all.
I don't have an argument. Don just needs to present this evidence, and I'm applying the same standards of evidence he applies to us. If he can't handle that, that's his problem, not mine.
Excellent, Ed. You've done well and achieved much.
Well, I've achieved you with no evidence for electricity, for example. All you can do is yell about me.
Yes, are you really going to give that sort of carte blanche claim that you're trying to debunk the existence of electricity? Are you having me on?
No, I'm just saying you can't show any evidence for either
try a
magnetism
light
or
socket.
electricity. Yeah, that's man-made.
He's just stated he can't show any evidence of magnetism or electricity. What about?
Man-made, though.
You can't be having me on. Is this really happening?
That's why, Nathan. That's why I'm not even going along with it.
No, that's actually your standards of evidence, so why are you whining?
Yeah.
You need evidence that it actually exists.
Hold on. No. I think Ed's saying what we have to do, what he has to do in this instance, Don Gio, is provide scientific evidence when, in this circumstance, it's like back in the day when Chemo got hold of this chainsaw. Sorry, at any stage, Don Gio, have you suggested or inferred that you have scientific validity to any of these claims of things that are observably obvious?
Yeah, there's a definitely electromagnetic field. You Ed, if you got 6K, go buy a F71 Tesla meter.
No, that's not what I asked, Don Gio. Have you ever claimed that you've got scientific validity to any of this?
I mean, I can manipulate with it, test with it, stuff like that.
Oh dear, Don.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Right, have at it, Ed. It's all yours.
There we go. Well, no,
Oh,
it's
shit.
your argument, so I'm actually using your standards of evidence here, not mine.
Good on you. Did you not detect that I'm getting behind you at this point, Ed? Clearly not.
Yeah, I know, but it's not my argument. It's your argument. I'm just using it
Are you
against
pleading for me to argue with him, Ed? Is that what you're doing? No. You can either have at it with him or
go
not.
ahead.
It's up to you.
Well, I'm not using the flat earth arguments for myself. That's your side.
Sorry, Ed, if you can't cope with actually manifesting this into an argument that you win, then no worries, we'll end now. But if you're saying, no, I want you to do
Are
it,
you
and,
asking
or
me to
implying that I'm
roleplay as-
suggesting you should argue from a flat earth standpoint, no, I'm not. But he's made a claim. and you're right in your standpoint. I'm saying, yeah, you're fine. He's actually got a claim that it's got science backing it. You're saying I'm holding him to the same standard you hold us to, and I'm saying you're right to do it. Go ahead. And you're saying, well, no, I'm not going to argue flat Earth with him. No, that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, that is what I'm saying. You're asking me to roleplay as a flat earther. I'm not.
No, I'm
gonna
not.
do that.
No, I'm
No,
not.
he's not. Where? When did Nathan say that?
Yes, you are.
Oh, you're
Do you
too
know what
dumb.
a flat earther is?
Even when I get behind these
Boy, Ed,
people.
you're just freaking retarded, Ed, huh?
You know, in earlier I said that when
So,
we will repeat some of their claims back to them, they take it as very, very bad. In this case, I'm actually supporting him. I'm not supporting your worldview suddenly. I'm just saying, yeah, you've got a point. You want to have him on this standard of evidence, and you're right to do so. Go ahead.
That's why I'm not really
Right, but
responding
it's your standard of evidence, so why
Oh,
should I defend that? I don't agree with anything you say.
Whatever,
And
Ed.
Nathan,
Have your victory or not. It's up to you. Go ahead,
all he's
Asa.
doing is just coming and saying like when a flat earther says, I'm saying he's just using, he thinks he's using the argument that because flat earthers say, oh, that was a manipulated experiment by
That is what
man,
I'm
that we're
doing,
not going to
that's
trust
correct.
it. And so what he's trying to do is take the position of a quote unquote flat earther to deny whatever you present as being something that is unfalsifiable and doesn't meet the scientific method, because that's what you normally tend to go to if somebody brings up a quote unquote experiment. That's what's going on.
Now he's doing it
Right,
too, and he's
Don
right
just
to.
parrots what Nathan says, so that's why I'm using it again.
Right, but it's a useless,
Right.
but it's a useless point for your claim.
It's a useless point for
you know
any
what I mean?
claim. That's why I'm presenting it.
Well, that's
I mean, it's not a useless point for any claim. It's perfectly valid if somebody claims science and you say, right, what's your scientific evidence? Doesn't matter which side of the fence you sit on. If you want to call him on his claim of science, I'm saying you're more than willing to do it, but you've actually got to fight that corner. Not ask me to do it for you, or say I'm not going to do it because I'm not flat Earth. Well, you don't have to be a flat earther to know what science is.
Yes, you do have to be a flat earther to know what your standards of evidence is, because that's what
think
it
you're
is.
wrong, Nathan.
That's not.
My
Yeah, but
standard
what
of
are you
evidence
trying
is
to
your
do? Are you
opponent's
trying
standard
to
of evidence.
just set up
He
flat
said
Earth versus
science.
flat Earth go? Like, what are you doing?
That's why I'm
Can I
not
have a
debating
shot?
him. I'm not debating him really, to be honest with you. It's a wait. This is
He's
dumb.
being Ed.
Really, really dumb.
And you'd be right to claim a victory, because essentially he won't even challenge you on what he's called you on. I've even backed him on it. He still doesn't want to call you on it and debate you on it. He wants to argue with me about what my standard of evidence is now. It's just being a troll. Because he could have actually progressed that argument and probably won with you, Don Gio. But based on the fact that he doesn't even want to argue it now, I'd take that as a victory for you. Yeah, totally.
I find it
Yeah,
a great,
totally.
it's a great trap there, Don Gio, you set for him, because he knows if he argues it with you, then he has to use it against his glove
No,
model
Ted, it's
too.
not a trap. It's not a trap.
Thomas.
Don't be pathetic.
They-
You're not
Thomas,
smart
I
enough.
know where he's going. I already know what he's trying
He
to do.
literally said,
not,
"I'm just
not,
using fallacious
I'm not new.
Yeah, I'm using your own standard
I'm
of
not.
evidence
Listen,
against
Ed. I'm
you.
not new to your debates. I
And
know how
since you
operate.
agree with Nathan's standards of evidence, why don't you let him take over?
Can I jump in for just a second? This is why this discussion never goes forward. Never. Because
Right, because you
Ed,
guys
am I
don't
done
even agree
talking,
with your
Ed?
own standards.
Ed,
That's
am I done
You
talking?
haven't spoken out for more than
Did you
5
hear me done
seconds.
talking?
Is that a
If we
possibility?
apply your
I'm
standards
going
of
to mute
evidence
you,
to
Ed,
you,
if
you
you don't
guys
shut
laugh
up for a
at it.
second.
Ed,
That's
If you don't shut up, I'm going to
hilarious.
mute you.
guys, both of you, Ed.
Yeah, go ahead. I won
Ed,
anyway.
Ed. Right, I'm not going to allow you to have continual verbal diarrhea here. I'm giving you an opportunity. Whoever's got a baby in the background, can you mute? To actually let him speak for more than 20 seconds without talking through him for whatever reason.
Right.
Good. Go ahead, Paul.
Well, the reason this process never goes forward is because we polarize it. Like Nathan was actually getting on Ed's side, and Ed refused to acknowledge that. And so even trying to progress the discussion argument.
Right, mute him and kick him out. Ed can't tolerate somebody giving more than 15 seconds of statement before he has to interrupt. Just a wanker. Just
no,
a
that's not
wanker.
true.
Just a wanker.
But he lied about me.
Try again, Paul. He doesn't even, after I've called him a wanker 4 times, he still thinks it's his turn on the mic. Yeah, Paul was in the middle of a statement. I've called you a wanker because after asking you specifically and you affirming by, right, no, wrong wanker, you're going to interrupt anyway, even if you affirm that you won't do it. So you're a wanker.
Then don't
So
lie
that
about
doesn't mean to talk again. Paul's still waiting. Shut up. That's what it means. Last chance, then you just don't take part anymore.
Okay, go ahead.
I will give him permission. Thank you. It's my show. Go ahead, Paul.
All right.
Okay, this is why this discussion never progresses, because you polarize it. Nathan was on your side for that moment, saying, "Look, he needs to prove it," and you refused any acknowledgement of anything at that point. So your discussion, Don's discussion, or Nathan's discussion can't go anywhere because you won't let it. You know, you've got to concede when there's a point to concede on, and Nathan was giving you that option. So that's why we stand here all day, every day. I go on Discord. It's like this all day long. No one concedes anything, anytime. So nothing can ever be progressed. Nothing. So we stand here all day long, arguing back and forth about stuff that we argue about every single freaking day, over and over and over again, because no one's willing to concede and let the discussion progress.
Yeah, because he used the point that he thought was valid, because that's why he used it, right? Oh, you guys say that, but you thought it was valid enough to use against Andrea.
Yeah, that's what
And then
you
when
guys
given
do,
the opportunity
actually. And
afterwards, you're like, nah, I'm not going to do that because I don't agree with you guys with anything. See how ridiculous you are? That's why Paul is saying we can't progress with people like you with that type of attitude. Because Nathan gave you the okay, go ahead. You're on point with this. And you're like, nah. So what do we do with that?
Well, like I said,
Like
it's
he suffers
detrimental.
from oppositional defiance disorder, so he can't handle being right.
No, that's not it. He knows if he uses it, it's detrimental to his globe model.
No, the thing is, Don actually
Then use
copies
it.
what
Then
Nathan
use it.
says. So I'm using
Don has, I mean,
that
Nathan
thing
has,
against
he
him.
has nice stuff, dude. Why wouldn't
Yeah, and so I'm using it against you to show how flawed it is and how dishonest you guys are. Because as soon as we apply your standards of evidence to you, you laugh it off as if it's ridiculous. So go eat
Did Nathan
yourself.
laugh it off? Did Nathan laugh it off?
Ed, none of us laughed it off. We were actually like, go ahead, Ed, on point with this. Did you not hear? Were you not here in the conversation with us?
Yeah, can I get a crack?
You're just gonna deny it now?
He can't
You just-
handle it.
You're
One
just gonna.
second. I just want to hear from Issa, who's been waiting in the sidelines.
No, I think
forgot about
Don
him.
can't handle it, actually.
Okay, thanks, Ed. Go ahead, Issa.
Yeah, my thing is like, okay, like Ed to me right now is slightly amusing, right? Like, shout out to Ed. I got no beef with Ed right now because I think what he's just trying to prove or trying to get across is the idea of the tactic. But what I think, Ed, if we could talk, is the idea that I think you are misinterpreting what some of us are doing with these arguments because you think you may think we're just dismissing all of these claims on these faulty grounds. And trying to use that litmus of whatever against these arguments, I think ultimately, they come out poorly for anyone defending it. I mean, I think we're making legitimate claims as flat earthers in complete compliance with the same set of information that you would use to validate your claims. And so to just to think that we are just outright dismissing everything, I think. I would ask you to think maybe a little bit more about it because I don't think that's what the flat earthers are doing, really. You know what I mean?
I understand what you mean, but simply listen to the arguments QE and Nathan have about science and then apply those standards to their own arguments and see how they respond. If they'll get mad,
It's like
they laugh
giving
it
a
off. That's what
chainsaw
they
to
do.
a 3-month-old. You are a numpty dipshit, sir. Why don't you get specific? What's the problem?
Tell me about it.
Yeah, I just did. Are you deaf?
What's the you didn't get specific? You're a fucking idiot.
Okay, hold on.
Let me say it. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead,
No,
Nathan.
you don't. I think you're probably going to do what I'm going to do anyway, Paul. Go ahead.
What we're wanting is a specific incident where they made a claim and didn't apply the method to that claim.
Yep.
Just generally saying they don't do that. That's not specific. So pick something that's been claimed by Nathan or QE or me or anybody else on this panel and show where they did not apply the very principles that they are trying to say that needs to be applied. That's what QE is asking for. That's what Nathan's asking for.
Every claim you make about Earth.
Every claim, shut up. Go back to Jose JG Retard Show with your baseless generalized assertions.
Okay, if it's every claim,
Hey,
if it's every
guys,
claim,
hello,
pick one claim.
QE's actually summarising the fallacy. Please, can you repeat it? Thanks, QE.
Yes, it's just another in a long list of generalized, baseless assertion fallacies. Then when we ask you for specificity, you go back to the same damn thing. Every single one. Go back to Jose JG Retard Show, and maybe they'll entertain you over there. Okay? Bye. Fuck off.
Oh, talking of fuck off, on the qualification that you have to give each video now in the tick box, YouTube have got really specific. I used to joke about the number of F words I can say. Now they've given it in numbers and the time frame. So you can have this many F words in this period and so on and so forth. I was showing my wife. I was like, look at this. It tells me exactly how many fucks I can have.
How many?
YouTube tells you how many fucks to give?
F words, F words. Don't want to use them up in this conversation. Yeah, it does, yeah.
Terrible.
How many?
I think it's, I can't remember the exact time structure. I think it's 2 within the first 30 seconds.
So we can legit ask you how many fucks do you have left?
I'm a very virile 4-year-old.
Why go
I've got
there?
loads left in me.
Or could we also say how many fucks can I give? And that would be 2 in the first 30 seconds.
I think we overplayed the F limit by now.
We're right at the border.
Yeah, we've gone beyond our limit.
It's contextually okay, but by the same token, if there are children listening, you don't need a load of F-bombs in a show. I agree. Whenever someone writes that as a comment, I cringe because they're
Unless we're
right.
counting F-bombs.
Yeah.
Let's not add to the pile.
Let's
There's
go
a
back
limit
to
to it.
my assertion that Ed Phrase decided to use the scientific method the way we have stood by it and the way it is explained in science, not pseudoscience. And he tried to turn it around today with Don Gio. And Nathan said, oh, well, we're all game for that because we stand by it. We don't make our opinions go beyond what it proves. So, yeah, go ahead. Use it as a sword. Go ahead, Ed. And what does Ed do? Ed says, again, this is me thinking for Ed now. Oh, my, if I do it, then I have to do it against my globe model, too. I better not. That's what happened to Ed today, my opinion.
Fair enough. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Also, link below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!